You're not just a case. You're not just a client. You're a person, and you deserve support. You deserve simplicity. You deserve communication. When you hire an attorney, you deserve clear, risk-free advice that guides you to the best possible outcome in your injury case. And that's exactly what the advocates have been providing for over 30 years. After your accident, you deserve closure. You deserve compassion. You deserve peace of mind. You deserve an advocate.
This is The Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find The Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, The Monty Show live on Monday, June 2nd, 2025. How the heck are you? As always, we are presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. And folks, we saw it all weekend long, all over the great state of Utah. I saw motorcycle accidents. We saw car accidents. If you've been in a wreck, please, I am begging you, do not trust your insurance company. You need to get clear, risk-free advice at theadvocates.com, where you never pay out of pocket. It costs you nothing to be represented by one of the best injury attorneys in the business, 24/7, 365 at theadvocates.com. And one of the coolest things about the Advocates is that they're always in the community. This weekend, they collected over 300 bicycles that will then be repaired and redistributed to the community for people who need bikes. Like, they're always working in the community, and I love that about the Advocates, because they understand when our communities are healthier, happier places, our lives are better. That's why you need to go to theadvocates.com, because they always are working. A lot of news going on. Obviously, we have got Greg Sankey talking again today and absolutely shocking people. We're going to get to that. Deion Sanders is pissed. We'll tell you why. Caitlin Clark apparently... Now, I know it's crazy. Caitlin Clark is not allowed to look at any other people.
What?
Any humans. And listen, Katie, I know you watch the show every day. She should not be looking at pets of any kind, because apparently anything she looks at, she is attracted to and wants to connect with.
Yes.
She does.
We are such a bunch of sycophants on.
What do you mean?
In sports, it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. Jake is really upset because Tinder has added a height filter. So we have got a full menu of things to get to today. But a huge update took place late last week and over the weekend with the Pac-12 in the Mountain West. And obviously, we have talked about this story at length in every detail possible. And we were telling you that on the 31st of May, and then all the hyenas came out and said, no. Well, it's June 1st. Well, it turns out on the 31st of May, all 5 exiting members of the Mountain West gave written notice and sent deposits in, $5,000 each, saying that, hey, a year from now, we are leaving the Mountain West Conference. Now, this was a step that, if you've been watching the show at all, you know we have been waiting for and expecting. It is a significant moment in time for both the Pac-12 and the Mountain West, but this is a significantly bigger story, in my opinion, and from people I have spoken to, for the Mountain West. And I say that because now they can get back to the business of building the future for the Mountain West. Because remember, when the members sent in that letter, and for those of you who don't know, the 5 exiting members of the conference, Mountain West going to the Pac-12, they're still on the board of directors, right? Because they had not given notice. They had not, triggered the process of leaving the conference, because they hadn't sent a letter. They had not put their $5,000 deposits in. So they were still on the board of directors. Well, why this is so significant is because if you know these 5 members are leaving, and I think we're all well aware that the 5 members, almost without pause or hesitation. We're going to leave this conference. That was the reality. And you look at these exiting 5 members right here: Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State, along with Utah State, all gave notice that they are leaving the conference. Well, now they are no longer on the board of directors. So what that means is the reimagined Mountain West can now get to the business of 26 and beyond. They can get to the business of negotiating that media rights deal out in the public, right? And having open, honest conversations as a business unit, because you, quite frankly, we're not going to do those things and hand your soon-to-be competition, really important information about the way you were doing business, how your deals were going to be constructed. That simply doesn't make business sense. So now you can actually operate as a full functioning business. This is a big moment in time for the Mountain West because, again, remember what's on the line here. Their summer meetings are coming up here in the very near future. So you really needed to get this done by then. It was a fait accompli, in my opinion, and by most people's opinions, that these 5 members were going to do that by this deadline, because you certainly at this point were not going to stay in the conference. So this is going to allow the Mountain West to operate on things like a media rights deal, adding, if they want to add new corporate sponsors, if they want to talk about valuations and all of the stuff that you have to do to be a fully functioning conference. That's all been on hold. As crazy as that sounds, it's been on hold. But now that those notices are in, the Mountain West can get to their business. But one thing that I think everybody is waiting for is what's going on in mediation. Sources close to the situation have told us that the process is continuing. They have not resolved anything. We told you late last week, we were told by sources very familiar with the process that it was going very, very well. However, they had all agreed, all parties involved had agreed not to release even the least of details, to keep it all in-house in good faith, to try and get the best outcome for everybody involved. And that's exactly what we're seeing, because on this show, I think we've been very candid with you. We have really good connections in both the television industry, at the university level, at the conference levels. Like, we talk to a lot of people, and all of them have told us point blank, hey, it's going well, but we have agreed not to give out details. And they have not. So I think that's exactly what you want to hear. If you're a Pac-12 fan, I don't think this changes your calculus much at all, because this, again, this was just a date on the calendar. We are going to give notice at the last second possible, and that's exactly what these exiting 5 members did. This changes your calculus not even a little bit. You are still focused moving forward. You now, I think, have to get through this mediation process, because remember, the exit fees are significant. And I know a lot of people want to talk about the poaching fees. I think the exit fees are a big part of this as well, because it's $15 million, right? And if you're paying $15 million, that's a lot of bread. And that's $75 million to the Mountain West Conference, unless you somehow, through mediation, negotiate that down, or if you end up in front of a judge, which, again, is not going to happen. I was told on Friday that in no uncertain terms, there is not one single person involved in this process who wants to see either the poaching lawsuit or any of these exit fee lawsuits go in front of a judge. So I, again, will tell you, I don't think that's going to happen. You are going to negotiate this down as much as you can. And then the Pac-12 at that point will be able to get on with, hey, let's add another member. Most people believe that that's going to be a Texas university in one form or another. And let's get on about our business. I think this today is much more impactful for the Mountain West, and I think it's business as usual in the Pac-12. But, Jake, this was an important date on the calendar, and I think it allows everybody, I guess the right way I would say it is, I feel like it allows everybody to take a deep breath.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like, a little bit of the pressure's off, because now these schools have given notice. But, I have to say, I think if we just ignore the fact that now the financial pressure is officially on, we would not be doing this topic justice, because the reality is you are responsible for these fees, right? The reality is you are in mediation, and the reality is now these schools have committed to going to what is supposed to be a conference, what everyone thinks is going to be a conference, but isn't officially a conference. And so I think that that's still a pretty tall task to to sort of accomplish. We can sit here and talk about how, yeah, it's great they gave notice, and yeah, it was definitely a date on the calendar, definitely a step in the process. But they waited as long as they could, and then they gave notice. And yes, I think this piece about the Mountain West being able to do business again is great. But the reality is I'm still in this place where I'm wondering, okay, what's the path to this grouping of schools becoming an officially recognized conference, number one? And then number two, how far is the hole that you're going to have to dig to make that happen? Because that's really where I think the rubber meets the road for this whole situation. 12 months from now, when we look back on this and we say, okay, they got X, Y, and Z through mediation. And, then they got this for a media rights deal. It cost them this much. They're getting this much from the media rights deal. Now, how many games do they have to go out and win? Now, how do we get into that profitability part for each of these universities? Because when you listen to school administrators talk, they're always talking about, taking care of the student athlete and making sure that the student athlete's in a good place, and, making sure the institution's in a good place. But the only way that you can do that is if you have enough money to operate. So that's my single biggest concern, is how do you get through all of this? How do you come out the other end in a more positive position than you started? Because I think the moment you decided to poach those schools was the same moment you decided that you were going to have to dig yourself a hole to then dig out of that to get back into a good spot. And I think that's what we have to try to figure out.
Yeah, I think that, listen, let's be brutally honest about what the fortunes of these two conferences are, which is A, I think they are linked together. B, I still maintain the best course moving forward is to merge and have one conference, however many members that winds up being. I still maintain, and I was talking to somebody outside our studio today who was asking me, hey, do you really feel like that these two conferences will just kind of exist instead of thriving? And I absolutely do. I think if these two conferences end up competing with each other, because I don't know how you wouldn't, I think you're going to be taking money from each other, and neither one of them is going to see significant paydays. You are the exact same product. The exact same product. Does the Mountain West, lose a lot of football? Sure it does. Do they lose massive viewership? Not at all. They don't lose significant reach. They don't. Would you love to have Boise State in your conference? You would. But is Colorado State or Fresno State, Utah State is scandal-ridden and frankly has not been relevant in college football for I don't know how long. They are probably fourth in the state of Utah. I would think having Bronco Mendenhall as your head coach would help that. I think not only is he a tremendous football coach, he's a tremendous man, but Utah State is not even on the radar in their own state. You're not a significantly better conference on one side of the line or the other. And that's the real tragedy here. If you would merge and put all of these universities into one athletic pot, you would have a $10 million product. You would. I've been told that by multiple TV executives that $10 million would be a number that would be very feasible based on, hey, if you're putting together a footprint that encompasses the entire West Coast of the United States, there's real value in that. When you're putting together multiple conferences who kind of muddle that up, and you have markets that are insignificant, Fresno State, with all due respect, because I know that Fresno State fan gets very uppity when I say it. Fresno State is not something where you're like, hey, anybody know where the Fresno State game is? Nobody cares. It's the same thing I'll say about San Diego State in football. Nobody cares because they don't win games. They're not relevant.
Right.
Basketball, totally different conversation. I think it's why GCU, Grand Canyon University, and Gonzaga are such important pieces to this puzzle. It's why Gonzaga turned down a bid from turned down an offer from the Big 12 to join the Pac-12, right? Because they understand where their bread is buttered and where they're going to make their money. And that is not missing the NCAA tournament. The fact of the matter is the Mountain West is an excellent basketball conference. The Pac-12 is going to have to hope that some of the lower tier programs in that conference step up in basketball. It's, depending on who you believe, it's between 15 and 20% of your media puzzle. So it's a lot of money. And I think when you divide this pie the way that these two conferences are what seems like inevitably going to do that, I think you're cutting off your nose to spite your face on both sides.
Yeah, and there was all this smoke about how, schools from the state of Texas were considering joining either of these two. And I just look at this and I say, look, man, like, no matter what you want to look at in expansion, no matter what you want to do on an individual basis, the reality is it's a strength in numbers proposition.
Exactly right.
And I just think that if you're going to a TV executive and trying to sell them on one market or two markets in Northern California or Southern Oregon or, wherever you want to point to, I just think that, and it's not that I know that that's not as valuable as saying, all right, we've got not only the mountain region, right? The mountain time zone, but we've also got the Pacific time zone.
Yeah.
And we are slowly but surely bleeding into the central time zone if you were to expand into Texas. That to me makes the most sense. But once again, we are here talking about how a merger doesn't seem to be an option because both sides are not in alignment on that proposition.
But do we really believe in, let's say it's Texas State, do we really believe that Texas State brings the central time zone or the state of Texas to the Pac-12? I mean, physically, does it? Sure it does. But is there real value in San Marcos, Texas? There's not. You're not a brand. You're not somebody it's very important that they add another member. I think we all, for obvious
completely
reasons,
agree. Part of the process.
Is San Marcos, Texas, the market that you were pining for? It clearly is not. And I think that,
what choice do you have though?
You don't. It is really unfortunate that Sacramento State is on the timeline they're on because it makes them ineligible. That would be the most logical move for everybody. But if you're the Pac-12, that doesn't solve your problem. Texas State, you're talking about, do you guys know where San Marcos, Texas is? And if you do, I'm not trying to be an idiot about it. Or San Marcos, Texas, quite literally is between San Antonio and Austin, off the western flank of Houston. Like it is quite literally in the middle of nowhere. And I don't think it helps you that much at all. If you're sitting in a boardroom at Fox, or if you're on a call and you're negotiating a deal at Fox, hey, we got Texas State. I don't think that helps you that much. That's where I say you need to merge. And I am somebody that advocates that maybe not everybody involved in this puzzle currently would survive a merger.
Mm-hmm.
That's the tough, harsh reality of college sports today, that maybe they don't all survive. But if you're the Pac-12, I find it hard to believe in this moment in time that you're going to get Memphis or Tulane USF and Memphis would be a home run in my opinion.
Totally agree.
But now you're not a regional conference. The travel is cost prohibitive and the human toll of the travel is prohibitive. I think that's very clear. So I say, I understand it. I understand Texas State. It's just not a difference maker.
Yeah. And I think that this concept of, which of these conferences is going to be regarded as better. I see a lot of people doing this thing where they want to say, oh, well, the Pac-12 is the fifth best conference, or the Mountain West is the sixth best. I don't think, to be honest with you, that whether we're talking about Power 4 commissioners or we're talking about TV executives, I don't think they care. Because again, and we're going to get to this in a little while, but this conversation around, the CFP and, auto bids versus seeding and basically access for, the Pac-12 and the Mountain West, essentially, you're getting to a point where nobody cares if you're the fifth or the sixth. They only care if Fresno State can win a ball game, which we know they can't against that level of competition.
Yeah.
So unless Boise State, let's say, is going to resurrect another Ashton Ginty or come up with another just incredible team out of the blue, I just don't understand what school out of either of these conferences is going to be the one that breaks through and is consistently in the college football playoff. Because ultimately, that's where this road leads. That's where the whole, hey, they're the best conference, they're the best G5. Okay, neat, great. Here's your gold star. Yeah. But it doesn't matter if you can't win the games. It doesn't matter.
And this is my point about Boise State. and this is again why I'm going to say you should merge. If you merge, you're in the college football playoff every single year. Everybody's making more money. And if you merge, you have a chance to put how many more teams as a single entity conference into the NCAA tournament. But I think the egos on the Pac-12 side simply will not allow that to happen. Because as we have exclusively reported, and now everybody's run with, Gloria Nevarez has broached merging multiple times. And it has been a hard no from the three remaining entities in the Pac-12, Teresa Gould, Oregon State, and Washington State. And as we reported exclusively 2 weeks ago, and now multiple people have run with, including Pete Thamel at ESPN, the exiting members of the Mountain West were all open to the conversation. They were certainly not a hard no. But yet here we are in a place where you're going to have these two entities that I think are going to leech from each other.
Yes.
And sadly, it just didn't have to happen, which is the same thing I always say about the old Pac-12. It should have never gotten to this point. You should still be one of the best athletic conferences in the country, but you're not. So now you have to do what you have to do, and that's why something like Texas State makes sense. The fact that the Pac-12 has come to a point where Texas State is a really important athletic property tells you all you need to know. Because I have talked to an executive at every TV company that is involved in college football, and not one of them outside of Memphis, not one school that is being talked about within expansion for the Pac-12 moves their needle. Not one. Not even Sacramento State. But I can tell you, TV people all the time tell me, hey, if Memphis is involved, hey, if it were Memphis, I got a guy tell me Friday, hey, if it were Memphis, this would be an unbelievable win for the Pac-12. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
Memphis would be a home run. That is that is a brand. That is a basketball brand. That is a football brand, which Texas State is neither. And I get it. I hear from Texas State fans all the time, oh, Monty, you just don't know it.
Yeah.
Bro, I know. You guys are warped into this idea of, well, look at what we've done on the field. It doesn't matter what you've done on the field because nobody has seen what Texas State has done on the field. They will have to go and read about it. And I don't have to read about what Penny's doing at Memphis for basketball.
Right.
I don't have to read what for Gonzaga. I don't have to go back and check stats on if Gonzaga is a good basketball program. I don't have to do that.
It's known.
I can tell you that TV executives have no idea what Texas State brings to the athletic table. It just doesn't move the needle. And it's unfortunate because the Pac-12 fans deserved way better than this. Mountain West fans deserved way better than this. Fans on both sides of that line, I cannot tell you how passionate Mountain West and Pac-12 fans are. We hear from them all
the time.
We get mail, email, like when the Pac-12 was melting down, I cannot tell you how many people came to our studio every day to talk about the Pac-12 melting down.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot tell you, when that was all happening, we had crowds of people standing outside our door watching our show.
Yeah.
On the days when the Pac-12, when the four corner schools and what's Colorado doing. And
yeah, I mean, one of those days was like 20, 30 people just standing there.
Standing there watching our show.
Yeah.
We're in an office building and like people are just hanging around. That's how passionate Pac-12 fans are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's what makes that such a tragedy because Pac-12 fans deserve better than this.
And to be clear, my opinion is I still don't have massive confidence that this conference is around in 5 years. I mean, I think that there's such a long road to getting to a place where you are what I would call established. You're to a point where you're like, all right, yeah, we're good. But like, even if we have a bad year, we're still good. We've got enough. We've got our donors. We've got private equity as an example. We've got, we've got this or that. We've got our means to be, stabilized, if you will. And I don't know. I am sure that they have a plan. I'm sure that They know the numbers, that they've been through the numbers and the calculations, that they, have a plan that they think is going to work. But I guarantee you that plan is contingent on getting a certain discount in mediation. And that,
I would
to
agree with
me,
that.
is the biggest question mark in front of your face if you're a Pac-12 fan right now. What of mediation? Because, to what you were saying earlier, everything we're being told is going great. But
progress is being made.
Progress is being made. Okay, great. Awesome. But to what end? And that's what I'm fascinated about with this next step. Because everyone's asking, okay, well, what's next? What's next for the Pac-12? We're all thirsty for the next thing. Well, the next thing is figuring out what exactly the Pac-12 is not having to pay for after this process is done. And at that time, then we'll have a much clearer picture of the path forward.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I think it's very much the exact same thing for the Mountain West. How much, because you owe unequal shares to UNLV.
Right.
That's, everybody's talked about that. The people at UNLV, I can tell you, sources close to that situation told me straight away they are not concerned about the money. They are, I think, far more concerned about stability and access, and I think they know they have that. I think it's going to be very interesting to see, if you're the Pac-12, your priorities have to be getting that 8th member, getting a TV deal, and chasing St. Mary's.
Yes.
In that order, right? And I think because you need stability right now. And by all accounts, the Mountain West should have a media rights deal, I would think, by kickoff of football season. We'll see. But just people in television telling me their relationships are very strong. The Pac-12 is having to create new relationships. And I think what you're seeing is, what are they willing to accept? What are they willing to offer the Pac-12 in concession for, like, this current deal they announced for this coming year? Their net is significantly lower. Why do you think we have not seen the hoopla and the fanfare of, hey, look at our great TV deal, here's how much money we're making?
Right.
Why is the Pac-12 not put out, oh man, we're making boatloads of money on this deal for 2025? Because they're not. Their net is the issue for this coming football season, because they're going to have to pay production costs pretty much for every one of their games. So that's a huge deal. Are you willing to do that in your next deal, in the longer term 26 and beyond deal? I would hope not. Because if that deal, and again, I go back to what Teresa Gould told Front Office Sports, hey, we need a transformative partnership. And this next deal, she literally says in the interview there, she literally says, hey, we need a transformational partnership. We don't just need a paycheck.
The one thing I keep saying to potential partners is, given where we are as a league, I don't want these partnerships to be transactional partnerships. I don't want this to be a media rights partner writing us a check and televising a bunch of games. We need these partnerships to be transformational at this point, and for somebody to really jump in with us and say, we want to help elevate and reimagine the new Pac-12.
Yeah. So what did you do? You went and got somebody to hand you a check and put your games on their network. That's the issue. So going forward into 2026, I would certainly think you would have to do that deal differently. But this goes back to, and Pac-12 fans, I'm sure you are going to absolutely feast on this today, but this goes back to, how much value do you really have? Because you are never, if we learned anything from George Kliavkoff's back of the envelope calculation bullshit, and $50 million, you're not worth what you say you're worth. The reality in life, and I don't care if you're a UPS driver, a police officer, a school teacher, whatever, you're worth what somebody's willing to pay you.
Back of the envelope calculations.
And I think our sources have been nails across the board. They're worth, I think on the high side, $8 million per school per year. On the high side. And I think it's going to be less than that. But is if you get, and let's say you get $8 million on average, right? Because you're going to have unequal revenue distribution.
Of course.
But you're paying Gonzaga full freight. You're not paying them a prorated amount because they're only basketball. They're getting a full share. So
Gonzaga.
How much are you actually getting? And how much do you owe Boise State? And my bigger question is, are you kind of, I don't know what's the right word. Are you splitting the baby here, if you will, between the Mountain West and the Pac-12? Because I think you are.
Well,
I'll go back
and
say again, I think they're both going to wind up on ESPN's streaming platform because ESPN needs the content.
Mm-hmm.
I think they both probably in one form or another, because don't forget Fox is launching essentially a mirror platform to what ESPN is. Do you guys know what I'm talking? ESPN DTC, direct to consumer. The ESPN platform will launch this fall, and then they need a significant amount of content to fill. So that's why you have a Pac-12 game on ESPN. That's why you have a Pac-12 game on CBS, because they need content.
Yeah.
But they don't need content on traditional television. They need it in their streaming app. So now is this new incarnation of the Pac-12 willing to be 60% of its games streamed? And does that get you $8 million per year per school? These are the questions that have to be asked.
Well, and I think to that point, when you talk about expansion and like the makeup of the conference, again, this brings us right back to the point of what was promised, because clearly if you're Boise State, something was promised that drew your attention to get you to act quickly, verbally at least. And then obviously they waited for the deadline. But when I think about, when I hear you say, hey, well, unequal revenue sharing inside the conference, of course, otherwise known as performance-based revenue sharing in the Big 12 and the Power Four conferences. So if you're Texas State as an example, if you're these schools that, maybe, understand that you're not going to go out and beat the best in your conference and compete for conference championships and thus try to compete for one college football playoff spot every 5 years. Like, that's my question. How do you finance this league in a way where you appease the big boys of the league, your Boise States, your San Diego States, obviously Gonzaga, like you said, while also making it equitable enough for the little guy to make enough where it makes sense for them? Because that's precisely why Memphis is not in your conference, because it wasn't going to make them enough money to justify the cost and everything like that. Dr. Scott told us that on this show, like, no doubt about it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm all down with expansion and all these cool wins that all the Pac-12 homers want to tell you this conference is racking up. But the reality is I want to see, I want to see the checks start to come in for the promises that you inevitably made, a year ago to these schools. Because until that happens, I'm just not buying that this is just, a done deal and everything's good. This is different than, everyone wants to say, oh, well, OU and Texas went to the SEC and that was fine. Why not Texas State? That's a completely different situation, dude. Like, come on.
And I think that the interesting point there is, what promises financially did you make? Because both of these conferences have made financial agreements. And I know that, again, Pac-12 fan loses their mind when I say this. The Mountain West is getting paid. You don't go to mediation if you're the Pac-12 if you're not willing to cut a check to settle.
Yeah.
You're going to pay poaching fees and you're going to pay exit fees. How much is that going to be? And my opinion is it almost doesn't matter, because if there's a check cut, you and I both know it will satisfy the financial debt, if you will, debt, call it what you want, the financial obligations of the Mountain West in the near term, or they're not going to do that deal.
Right.
And my opinion is, if it's $15 million per school, you're looking at, what is that, 5 schools? You're looking at $75 million. Let's say that's $60 million on just the exit fees, right? Like, you're going to get a significant financial windfall here. The Mountain West in the near term will be fine. And if they are able to secure a TV deal, and I would think if they're able to secure a TV deal by kickoff of this coming football season, the Mountain West is secure. They're fine.
And I also might add, what's the big difference between the two promises? Because I agree both of these conferences have made obligations verbally and on paper. But isn't that just the biggest difference, right? I mean, the crux of this conversation is what's on paper and what's not on paper. The Pac-12 stuff is not on paper in terms of what they promised Boise State, and the other schools that are joining the conference. Unless that's just a secret, agreement that nobody knows about between the schools and the conference. As far as I'm concerned, you don't have an official, signed, sealed, delivered contract on what we're doing in this conference in terms of revenue sharing and all that good stuff. Now, obviously, what's on paper is what, Washington State and Oregon State and the Pac-12 agreed to with the scheduling merger with the Mountain West. So again, my main point is, okay, let's say it is $60 million. Let's say you say, $15 million. Okay, great. Cool. It's $15 million less dollars that you had to pay. But in the grand scheme of things, what's the number you really need to get to? Because you can't tell me, again, with all due respect, I don't think $15 million is really saving anyone nowadays in terms of conferences and, what you're trying to do. You start adding these numbers up and all of a sudden it's like, hey, the Mountain West is going to get a windfall here, but how much of that's got to go to UNLV?
Right.
We burn through money, I swear, in life and in these conversations like there's no tomorrow.
Well, the hell, the lawyer's fees alone.
The lawyer's fees alone, right?
Yeah.
Who winds up paying the lawyer's fees?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's interesting because at the end of the day, only one of these conferences is going to put somebody into the college football playoff.
Is there such a thing as winning this thing?
There's not.
This whole thing.
No, we talked about this last week, and my opinion is unchanged. I don't believe that either one of these conferences can win. If you're the Mountain West, you're losing some really significant brands. Although I don't know that I would say you're losing a significant TV market. Because I think when you pick up GCU, who doesn't play football, that's really huge because that's bringing you Phoenix and Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And I would remind you that basketball fan base, and I am certain that Pac-12 fans will poo-poo it, but hey, you do you. Having been there, having covered that team, having been on the flagship station of that team, GCU fans are incredible. That building is full. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a really good ad. Okay, it's offset by Gonzaga. Totally get that. The prize TV market in the poaching efforts, if you will, was Las Vegas. Look at the SEC and the Big 12. What did all of them say? We want to be in Las Vegas. We want to be doing business in Las Vegas. It's the entertainment and sports capital of the world. It was a massive, massive win. And a massive, massive loss for the Pac-12 not to get UNLV. And I think it is the only reason that the Mountain West was able to survive, in my opinion, is because UNLV stayed in that conference. Because UNLV couldn't afford to take a financial risk. And I still to this day maintain UNLV enjoys a good relationship with the Mountain West Conference. And I think that's why they stayed.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be very tough. I mean, one of these conferences, I would think, and it depends on how well the American does, because I think there's not a whole lot of opportunities for G5 college football playoff spots outside of those conferences.
No, there's not.
And on
those, it's funny you bring that up because on the we don't have a picture of it, but the SEC at their spring meetings last week shared a document ranking the conferences based on playoff participation, and the American was the lowest one.
Yeah.
So, kind of speaks for itself.
It is, but it isn't that exactly why
and
Memphis was having
right above that too. So,
but isn't that why Memphis was having the conversation?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I think when you look at the money, that's involved in the college football playoff, it is not insignificant, friends. It is not insignificant. It is $4 million for all 12, and this is 2024-25. $4 million for all 12 teams, and then $4 million for the 8 teams that advance, and $6 million for each of the 4 teams that make the semis. $6 million for the two that make the national championship game, and each team gets $3 million to cover expenses for each round. That is a lot of money. And if you're, I guess this goes back to the Boise conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you got your $4 million and $3 million for expenses. So you got $7 million. How much of that money do you get to keep? How much of that money in the Pac-12 will you get to keep?
Yeah, we'll see, bro.
What are the promises? What are is it merit-based and you're keeping 100% of that for yourself? How many in the Pac-12 are going to be thrilled with that? Think Texas State's going to be okay with that? Right? That's my point. I think there's a lot of dealings to be done, and I'd like to see a grant of rights. I'd like to see, because I will remind you again, the Mountain West has a grant of rights done with all of their new membership, including UNLV. The reimagined Mountain West is on paper committing their rights to the conference, who can then go and sell those rights. So when we talk about being steps ahead of the Pac-12, the Mountain West is steps ahead of the Pac-12.
Yeah.
And now they're actually able to commiserate in privacy and start planning their futures. So, all right, enough of us, more of you. If you are here, please hit the like button. If you are watching on X, thank you for watching the show. Our growth on X has been fantastic. I really appreciate everybody. If you are listening on any of our audio platforms to our audio podcast, thank you for doing that. You can find us anywhere you get an audio podcast. Just search The Monty Show. Come on over to YouTube. In fact, why don't you just go to Google, search The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show, and come on over. Give us a thumbs up. Please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And I can already see people are, Conundrum, how did you get filtered already? I haven't even read a comment yet. I have literally not read a comment.
Bro,
And Conundrum
Monday.
is filtered. Seriously,
Bro,
we're
it's Monday.
43 minutes into the week and you got filtered already?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
It's
Bro,
amazing
that might
to
be
me.
a new record. I mean, I think Ferris was sub 20, but that's pretty good, dude. That's pretty good.
Will Carmine Compton, I don't even know who you are, but you got filtered too. Like, you guys, is it that difficult to not get fucking filtered? We're 40 minutes into the show,
I knew
man.
today would be shitty.
Seriously, you did. All right, let's get into it. Your thoughts on the Mountain West versus the Pac-12. Let me go all the way back to the top.
Yeah,
we have
back
a
to
lot
the
of comments today. Big Blue Horses, hello. Matt Ritson, good to see you. Dana Marie, good to see you. Hey, fellas, WNBA plus prize picks, money for mama. There's some good WNBA. And now that the Knicks absolutely took one in the TMS, we're going to be doing some WNBA prize picks. And we got to talk about Caitlin Clark staring at other women, and you hyenas just assuming that she is of a particular persuasion.
Are people Myron?
Because she put her eyes on a female.
Dude, she didn't put her eyes on her.
You know.
Macaque.
You know.
Why? Don't feed the animals. Jesse Crum says, hit the like button. Jesse, good to see you. Nacho Libre, hello. TJ Beck, Monty and Jakey Two Shake, let's go. And just to get ahead of it, but Monty, JD Wicker said, well, if you're a Pac-12 fan, are you a fan of JD Wicker, the athletic director at San Diego State? Because he just keeps on talking. And he's really the only one in the conference doing a lot of talking. I'm curious what you guys think. The real Pete Forte, hello. JD needs to go. I listened to a radio show a while back, and he talked about how he has a background in growing grass. Growing grass.
I work for Scott's Turf Builder. Just seed it, you know?
It's the Horny James. Hello from Central Texas. Texas. Hit the like button. James, good to see you as always. Joey B says Jake in white today.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys like it? I thought I would reset the week with a more modest color, more neutrals.
You're pure.
Yeah, I'm pure. White is the driven snow, both on my shirt and in other areas. So it's good. It's good. We're off to a good start.
That's not true. Larry Westfall says, let's go Mountaineers. West
Mountaineers.
Virginia. Curtis, hello. Good to see you. Big Blue Horses. There are 95 days until the NFL regular season kicks off.
Dude.
Go Bears.
They're going to be a hot 95 days, too.
Go Bears. TJ Beck, Jakey Two Shakes has the smooth, fresh, shaven look rolling today. Ladies.
Yeah, I do my best, man. It was Monday.
How many days a week do you shave?
Lately it's been like once, but
Okay.
I felt like, new month, fresh week, first day of the month. Why not?
All right. Okay. Buffalo Hunter. Good afternoon, fellas. I hope Ryan Smith is discussed today.
Well, I mean,
big game hunting.
What portion would you like to discuss, my friend? What portion? Do you want to talk about kids? Do you want to talk about what the kids said?
So Ryan Smith tweeted a picture of a couple of Utah Jazz basketball shorts. And I saw a kid, somebody saying it's disgusting he gets free Jazz shorts. He's the owner of the
What
team.
do you mean, bro?
Jazz fans are so bitter that they hired another guy named Ainge today. We'll talk about that. Joey B says Jake versus Tinder minus 175.
Well,
we'll get to that. Fat. Jesus. Good to see you, sir. Caitlin Clark looked my way when I was in the crowd. I knew she wanted me. I heard that. San Diego State. Glenn, sick day, sick week. I'm here, so entertain me, Monty.
What are you sick with,
I hope
bro?
you feel better, man.
Yeah, or is this the flu? Or, dude, did you see the, not to get way off track here, but the new COVID variant coming out of the great state of California? No comment on that, please.
Everybody gets a test.
I choked at my monster. Well, okay, that came out right.
Wow, dude. I mean,
it is what it is.
As soon as I said it. I went out to eat over the weekend.
Yeah.
And we got it to go.
Did you?
Because the restaurant was full.
Was it a sit-down restaurant or like a fast casual?
It was a sit-down.
A sit-down, okay.
And we don't go out to eat a lot in our house. I think you guys know that. We're on kind of a health food kick.
Yeah.
And we got it to go because it was a little full. I was like, nah, bro.
The coronavirus.
Timothy Nolan says, hi, Texas State fan here. Hi, Timothy.
What's up, bud?
And I'm sure Texas State fans are not happy to hear from me.
Do you want to be in the Pac-12? Because that's the thing. I love asking this question. How do you guys view the Pac-12? Because there's some contingent that's like, oh, we're amazing. And then other people are like, nope, it's crappy. So if you're a Texas State fan, like, is this something you want? Is this something that you're about? Because I'm not sure that I would just be, head over heels for this right now.
Yeah. There's a person ringing my doorbell back at my house.
Okay, let's hear it. Are they still there?
I'm not going to talk to him, but I don't know who it is. He's selling something. He's got one of those white badges on with a clipboard. Nah, bro. I ain't here for it. Kendrick Barkell, excuse me. When UNLV dips, the Mountain West is doomed to become the next WAP. But how are they going to dip?
Yeah. What do you mean? They've committed long-term to the Mountain West.
They not committed. They signed a grant of rights.
Yeah.
So they won't be able to dip. Will Carmine Compton. Okay. Notre Dame to the Pac-12. That must be it. That'll save the world.
Yeah.
That'll save the world. Curtis says Mountain West meet the WAC. But see that. Okay. So if you're a Pac-12 fan, the only thing I ask from you in the comment section, if you're going to make comments like meet the WAC, what does that mean? Meet the WAC, and how is the Mountain West at all similar to the WAC? Because they haven't lost their footing, their TV deal. They haven't. So what is it that when you say they're the WAC, you truly think that losing one major football brand, which is Boise State, you really think that's the end of the world for the Mountain West? Because I'm going to tell you it's not. I do not. I've never agreed with that.
Yeah.
And I understand that Pac-12 fan, you guys like to root for other people to fail. And that's just not the way I would do things. I would not be out looking to wreck conferences. I would not be out looking to be in this situation where your actions are destroying other people's conferences. I would not be doing that. And it's something that this conference has done repeatedly. And I think it's one of those deals where watch what you wish for. Because, again, it's not personal with me in San Marcos, Texas. I don't hate you at all.
Yeah.
That doesn't move the needle. I'm just telling you. So when you talk about the WAC, I assume you mean like these small schools that don't make money. Relatively speaking, you're going from a Power 5 conference to a low-end G5 these days. So you're out. The Pac-12 quite literally is out in the marketplace trying to steal other G5 universities and trying to cripple the Mountain West in hopes that the Mountain West will fail. Does that seem like good business practice to you? And they're also out signing contracts. And again, this is not my thought, but I'll tell you this. A university administrator made a point to me the other day when they said they're out signing contracts knowing that they're going to breach that contract down the road. Is that somebody you want to get into business with? And I think that is a really good point, because the Pac-12 signed a scheduling agreement with the Mountain West, and by their account, knew they were going to breach it.
Yeah.
So let me get this right. You're going to sign a contract with the Pac-12 in full faith that they're going to execute that contract to their best ability? I think that's a really good point. So, yeah, we'll see. Dan Davis, what's up? I'm sitting riverside with my feet in the water.
Nice, dude.
I like it.
Nice, bro.
I like it. Joey B, the new Pac-12 equals G5 or G4 anyhow. So who really cares in the grand scheme of things? It's still a mid-major. But that's...
Well, I wouldn't say who cares. I think that's a little rough. I get where you're going with it, but I think the reason people care is because whatever happens with the West Coast in college football will inevitably have an impact of some kind. I think it's hard to say what that impact is yet. It's easy to be like, oh, well, Boise State just went to the CFP. They can go every year. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think that, again, we're going to get to this in a few minutes, but the changes in the conversation around the changes with the CFP are nothing more than, hey, Boise State's of the world.
Yes.
We don't want you in. You need to create your own format. So if I said to you, Pac-12 fan or otherwise, observers, if I said to you, hey, 5 years from now, the G5 is going to have its own playoff model, and the West Coast teams are going to be the dominant teams in that model. Well, now you start to care a little more, because you're like, yeah, well, hey, if players, if college football prospects coming out of high school know that they're not SEC good or Power 4 good, then all of a sudden your conference and the opportunity and your streaming deal and all those things really start to matter to your top end potential. Because again, we put it on the screen, the college football playoff shares. Take those shares and cut them down by 60%. And what does that look like for a G5 college football playoff model? That money matters, man. And if you think that a G5 college football playoff model, whatever they would call it, is not coming down the pipe, you're mistaken, because it is. The Power 4 don't want to allow Boise State to continue to have a say in this thing or any other G5.
I think Hawaii is a really big win for the Mountain West. I don't know how else to, because the Pac-12 wanted Hawaii and couldn't. I was told couldn't execute an agreement with them, and the Mountain West could.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a big win. I think adding Grand Canyon is good for basketball business. And I think when you look at the list of schools, UC Davis, I think UTEP's a really good ad. El Paso is not a fantastic market, but it's certainly bigger than San Marcos. And I think UTEP is a football school, and that got you to the membership levels that you needed. And I'm very interested to see how, moving forward, both of these conferences grow, because that's my biggest question. To your point earlier, who's a winner here? And my bigger question is, what determines winning?
Yeah, what is winning?
Because existing is not winning. Existing is not winning. We are, and I understand that we're talking about college athletics. That's not what we're here for. We're here because we make money playing college football, basketball, playing college sports. We make money.
Yeah, it's the old saying, right? You do a show, but really you're a sales company.
That's exactly right.
You play college football, but really you're a sales company.
That's right.
You're trying to sell ads into the sport and all that good stuff. So it's a business.
That's what I think you need to figure out, is how do you determine winning? I think winning is making more money, not in this current grant of rights that's about to happen for both of these conferences, right? When they each sign a new TV deal, it's the deal after that you have to survive, because college football is going to look remarkably different. How long is this next media rights deal that these two conferences are going to sign? Do you want it? Do you want a 10-year deal? Hell no.
I just don't think that that's feasible. I
No.
think that I think the answer to that question is different for both of these. And again, we keep referring to the Pac-12 as a conference. I'm not going to keep doing that until they're actually a conference. But the Mountain West, certainly, if you're the Mountain West, you're not interested in a 10-year grant of rights. You need to sign a grant of rights. And I think this is mutually agreed upon between TV partners and these conferences. But there's an understanding of, hey, the college football playoff for the Power Four is changing, and a Super League is in development, but that's probably 3 years out, 5 years on the long end, in my opinion. So we've still got several seasons. So if you're the Mountain West, you're not signing 10-year agreements. You're signing agreements till 2030 at the longest. And I think that would even be pushing it, in my opinion.
I think it is very interesting to see how that plays out. Because what you really have is you have UNLV, you have UNR, you have New Mexico, San Jose State, Wyoming, right? And then you start talking about UC Davis, Hawaii, UTEP, and then you have Grand Canyon. And I think that's, and if you look at Northern Illinois as a football only, you have the ability to compete financially. That to me is significant. So we'll see. It's all of this is opinion. I don't know that either one of these conferences ever thrives. I really don't. I think this was a very, very foolish move to break a contract and then thieve members from the Mountain West.
Stupid.
It's not good business, man, because you had to know you were going to, this is already a conference that has spent more money on lawyers than anybody had ever seen ever in 2024. And all you've done this year is spend more money on lawyers. Every penny you give a lawyer does not go to a university in your conference.
Facts.
Come on. Dead 12 is used to failing. Well, and it's all self-inflicted. You got to go find a center, by the way.
Yeah, I just think they're used to making bad decisions. I don't think that on the football field they were terrible.
No, I don't think so.
On the football field they were one of the most disrespected conferences, but one of the best conferences we had on the football field, and we just didn't quite seem to all agree on that. I think that the Pac-12 suffers from bad decision makings at multiple levels. Everything from who to hire as your commissioner to how to go about resurrecting the conference to not being creative enough, I would say, or resourceful enough to come up with a solution for rebooting this conference that didn't involve poaching schools. That's the reality of it, because I think we all agree that there was an avenue there. There was a path at one time to merge these two together, to resurrect the Pac-12 brand, and to go after being the best G5 in the country in an effort to be ready for when a G5 playoff model became necessary, became relevant and needed. Because I'm telling you, that's 5 years from now, when you look back on college football, that's what you're going to say. You're going to say, oh, well, hey, they're coming up with a G5 playoff model now, so it's a little bit fair playing field and we can have levels to this.
Yeah.
And the Pac-12, they have this conference, but why are the Pac-12 and the Mountain West competing? And it's just not going to make a lot of sense. And when I look at the Power Four and how they're organized, yes, they compete on some level, right? Obviously, we've talked so much about it, but there is a clear pecking order here. And I'm just not confident there's ever going to be a pecking order between these two, because they're viewed as the same kid.
I agree.
They're the same thing, just with different schools. And Pac-12 fan won't like that, and I understand that. But that's the reality of it as far as money making and business and all that stuff is concerned. All the non-fan emotional stuff, like paying your bills and being successful, that's how people look at these two. It's just how it is.
It's so funny. I'm sitting here texting with somebody who is making a really good point in the TV industry. I think Pac-12 fans are obsessed with, oh, look what we've done in the past. Look at you got the one singular win is Boise State. That's your big grab in football. You're taking a university in Utah State that, what was that, September last fall, less than a year ago, was substantially non-compliant in Title IX related to sexual assaults involving the football team. That's under federal investigation. And to be fair, I believe I read a press release a month ago that said they are now in compliance. But that's who the Pac-12 took Utah State, who nobody gives a rat's ass about.
Yes.
It's hysterical to me. Utah State quite literally is invisible in the state of Utah. Nobody cares. Their claim to fame is hurting Taysom Hill. That's their claim to fame, right? That's the problem here. You didn't take 7 Boise States. If you'd have got UNLV, different conversation.
Yes.
I'm not telling you the Pac-12 sucks and the Mountain West is amazing. You're both very mediocre now. There's no crown jewel here. There's no behemoth, with all due respect to everybody involved. All you did was dilute the G5 football planet. That's it. You essentially carved out 2 conferences who had to go and reach below the G5 level to elevate people. Because whether it's Texas State or, point to whoever you want.
Yeah.
You're grandstanding in the Pac-12 on Texas State and Utah State. That's nothing to grandstand on. And in the Mountain West, by no fault of your own, you've had to go and get UC Davis. You're bringing in NIU as a football only, which is a good football brand at the G5 level. Trust me, I'm a Notre Dame fan. I know all too well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
There's no win here. There's no, like, if one more Pac-12 fan says it's going to be $15 million a year per school, no, it's not. How and from who? Because if that were the case, wouldn't you have already done that deal? And wouldn't you have a better TV deal for this coming season if you had people lined up to give you $15 million per year per school? There's no win. And I understand Pac-12 fans are so desperate for this brand to be relevant again. It's not. You're a G5. You're not trying. You're never going to be a power conference again. That ship sailed. And I go back to all the people who are telling you, oh, Kurt Schultz was going to stand up and hold up all the money in the... No, he wasn't. No, he was not. And no, he will not. That's not happening. My biggest concern is that Pac-12 fans are, again, going to feel heartbreak when you don't have a spot in the college football playoff. Because if Boise has a bad year, who is going to backfill that? Who is your football? And a legitimate question for you. If you're somebody and you are a big believer in the Pac-12, who here is going to backfill you into the college football playoff? Because if Boise doesn't do it, and everybody's going to say, well, Washington State and Oregon State, then why haven't they? Why haven't they? Do you know
why
how hard?
Did Cam Ward leave and get better?
But do you understand? To that point, do you know why it's so hard to rebuild Oregon State and Washington State? Because they lost so much. And then what you did is you went and backfilled all those losses with smaller schools who don't have the financial infrastructure yet and don't have the human infrastructure yet to compete at that level. So when I say to you, hey, who's going to backfill if Boise has a bad year? And I put the graphic up, and the answer is I don't know, because it ain't Utah State.
No.
I would love it to be San Diego State. I would like nothing more than to see San Diego State be the dominant brand that they should have been. But until that incompetent over-talker J.D. Wicker isn't the athletic director at San Diego State anymore, you're going to be spinning your wheels, because he ain't that guy.
Yeah.
He is not Scott Barnes at Oregon State.
And by the way, I think he's proven that. He's bored that out how many times?
I would agree. Cougar Tracks. The Pac-12 isn't doing anything that wasn't done to them. Yeah, I would wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think that Larry Scott and then Mr. Back of the Envelope Calculations himself, George Kliavkoff, created absolute criminal mayhem in their own homes. You had no reason. Larry Scott sat directly in front of us at Pac-12 Media Day and said, I am going to talk to Google. I am looking at all, and never did it happen. He just kept flying private and kept staying in hotel suites and kept that office in downtown San Francisco.
Kept abusing the finances of the Pac-12.
And never moved that ball forward. And then George Kliavkoff had so little respect from his constituents, USC and UCLA walked out the back door and never told anybody.
And I would also ask Cougar Tracks, what do you mean when you say the Pac-12 ain't doing anything that wasn't done already? Like what?
Because when did somebody go to Pac-12 members and be like, hey, let's get a group of you guys and get you together and destroy the Pac-12? Because that never happened.
Well, Monty, the Four Corner schools.
But no Monty's. Why did the exiting 10 members of the Pac-12 leave? Because there was nothing to stay.
Yeah.
There was nothing to keep them in the Pac-12, because ultimately the old heads in that conference didn't want a deal that was predominantly streaming, and I totally understand that. And you couldn't get a TV deal. And so everybody explored their options and figured out, well, we're Oregon and Washington, and we can actually go with SC and UCLA. Yeah, we're going to go to the Big Ten and take that $100 million payday down the road. And if you are Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado, you think you should have stayed there to be irrelevant? There's no way that was... with the financial insecurity that was facing Arizona coming out of the pandemic, are you out of your mind? There's no way that was happening. It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
When everybody is doing what's best for themselves and people are voluntarily leaving, that didn't happen. No, nothing happened to you. You did that to yourself. And it is still to this day the single greatest sports tragedy in this country's history that the Pac-12 is no longer a power conference with the membership that they had, because it never had to go that way.
Totally agree.
Larry Scott should have never, ever ignored DirecTV. You had almost no carriage.
But this is...
And then the partners you had at Comcast, you knowingly kept their money, which wound up in lawyers' fees, and you ultimately got shorted out of paychecks because of it.
Yeah.
Who did? Comcast didn't do that to the Pac-12. The Pac-12 did that. Comcast didn't put a lawyer in the instant replay booth. Remember that? Comcast isn't the one that sent USC to the Palouse to die. Come on. Come on. Gilbert Chavez. Boise State may be somewhat of a national brand, but outside of Boise and whatever conference they're in, no one cares about them. I think unless you have a guy like Ashton Ginty, who forced us to care about that team last year. But that's once in a decade at the G5 level.
And don't take our opinion for it. Go look at the numbers.
It's very rare. And it's what makes Boise football so special, because they tend to be able to win regularly almost without fail.
And give, Spencer a lot of credit, right? I mean, he's done a great job there. He's done a great job recruiting. He's done a great job with the NIL that they do have working. It was very controversial. I think it was like 6 months ago or so, early on in the season, when he had that clip about, hey, we don't want kids who are just interested in money. You guys all remember that. So give the guy credit. I mean, he's done a great job, but you're not going to confuse Boise State for a top end Big 12 team. You're just not.
I am amazed that Pac-12 fans feel like they're the victim. You as a fan are the victim. The Pac-12 is in no way, shape, or form a victim, and that same management team has been there for how many years? Teresa Gould's an original. That's not new management.
So why are we surprised?
We shouldn't be. All right, let me run through some of your comments. I appreciate you guys. You're our only hope. Okay.
Well, we try, dude. We try. We
Mike.
try to
Good
deliver,
see
bro.
You. Day one, Rob. There it is, Monty. No one is looking for others to fail. Really? Where was your moral compass when Utah left the PAC for the Big 12?
Oh, excellent point, bro.
Here
Don't
we
make
go.
it any easier, dude.
Say less. Moral compass. If you're Utah, and we had it to the second on this show, it's on video. Go back and watch it. They called us during the show and said, hey, and I believe the exact words were, you guys have been all over this. We appreciate how fair you've been. I want you to be first to know we have agreed to join the Big 12. And what did I tell you about Utah leaving the Pac-12? Do you remember? I said they were going to stay as long as they could possibly stay. They were going to stay as long as there was a road forward to financial stability. As long as there was hope and a realistic opportunity to create a media rights environment where they could make money, they were going to stay there. And they stayed, and they stayed. And frankly, they probably stayed too long. But then when it was obvious they were going, and I mean everybody was leaving,
yes.
Utah left. And why did they leave? Why did they leave?
And this is, I think, the crucial point.
Because you had George Kliavkoff telling people you were worth $50 million per school per year.
And just let's be totally blunt about the difference in situation here. The difference in situation is the grant of rights in the Pac-12 was expiring. You were a free agent, not committed to a conference, contractually on paper committed to a conference, and then another conference, in this case, the Big 12, swoops in and steals you. That's not what happened.
And nobody in that conference took the time to rewrite the bylaws of the conference. And then when they wanted to leave, refused to follow the bylaws they just wrote. Because that's what's happening in the Mountain West. None of that happened. You didn't have a grant of rights, and people had to look out for the future of their universities. So they took bigger paydays and more exposure.
So
and
what do you
never
mean,
had to be that way.
What do you mean, where was your moral compass when Utah went to the Big 12?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
No one is looking for others to fail. And I'm assuming you're a Pac-12 fan. I can't read your thing, but I can only imagine you're a Pac-12 fan. Let's be very blunt about what the Pac-12 did. The Pac-12 went out of business. The Mountain West offered them a lifeline. You're quite literally floating down the river to non-existence You were dead. The Pac-12 threw you a ring in the form of a scheduling agreement, which you signed with no duress present, and by the blowhard mouthpieces in the Northwest, they signed that agreement knowing the poaching fees and knowing the provisions of that, and said, oh, we're going to sign it because we know we can win in front of a judge. We know, oh, that's invalid. So you signed a contract in bad faith with no intention to execute the terms of that contract. And you want to sit here and talk to me about a moral compass? And you want to sit here and talk to me about no one's looking for others to fail? You only signed that contract hoping that you would destroy that conference so you could survive. No one's hoping for others to fail? Really?
Please.
So when you were taking those members out of the Mountain West, you were hoping what?
Well, that the Mountain West was going to thrive, right?
You
'Cause
were
had a
hoping.
moral compass.
No, you need the Mountain West to fail. Because what's the only way you maximize your TV money? Yeah, if you have the market cornered. If you have those late night windows that everybody seemingly loves, if you have those late night windows cornered, and CBS Sports Network and ESPN, the platform, and ESPN.com and ESPN Plus have nowhere else to go. And the new Fox Sports streaming direct to consumer has nowhere else to go. And the CBS Sports app has nowhere else to go. That's how you're going to maximize your money. But now it doesn't look like the Mountain West is going to fail. And why is that? Because Gloria Nevarez, the commissioner of the Mountain West, who you love to mock, she actually didn't avoid and wasn't dishonest with people. Pretty much the moment she found out that those 5 members were leaving, what did she do? Did she run and hide under her desk? No, she called her TV partners. She called her corporate partners. She circled the wagons in her membership. So when you say no one's looking for others to fail, you should probably understand the parameters with which the Pac-12 was operating. Because according to your mouthpieces in the Northwest, they signed that deal only because they knew that they knew that it was non-enforceable. How's that working out in mediation? And I would also remind you, how do you feel getting into business with 5 schools who now are refusing to pay exit fees based on the, contract that they wrote themselves and then signed? The bylaws of the Mountain West. Because all these members that are cavorting not to pay these exit fees, who wrote those bylaws? And was it 100 years ago? No, it was a couple of years ago. Oh, I remember when you tried to steal San Diego State the first time. So now what's happened? You tried and failed the first time. So now the second time when they're leaving the conference, they have to pay an exit fee. They have to pay a deposit on that exit fee. And they have to write a letter that they claim they never wrote the first place. So all of these members rewrote their bylaws about exit fees. And now you're saying that no one was looking to fail, and where was your moral compass when Utah left? The two situations are not comparable. There endeth the lesson. What
do you mean?
You
dude?
make it so easy. You make it so easy. Brandon Big Pontiff Butler, White How Virginal.
Right.
Jake has yet to seed a garden even once in his entire life.
Macaque.
Isn't that true, Jake?
Oh, man. Just couldn't have said it better myself, dude. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Backwoods Sexy Mike Smith, a member for 22 months.
Yeah.
Mike, appreciate you. Approves of pro Mountain West Conference anti-PAC show.
Right.
But see, that's the funniest part about that comment is everybody thinks I'm anti-Pac-12. I'm not anti-Pac-12. I think the biggest issue is you need one Pac-12. The Pac-12 brand, is it stronger? Sure, great. One conference that doesn't dilute the water completely. One conference that doesn't feed off of another conference, because they're both going to be taking from each other. I mean, you guys essentially are just handing each other the same dollar bill back and forth in recruiting, in marketing, branding, sales, TV deals. You're just handing dollar bills back and forth.
Yep.
Because neither one of you is worth significantly more than the other. It's as simple as that.
By the way, quick sidebar for all you golf fans out there tracking the who made the cut and who didn't make the cut. Max Homa had a 3-putt par on the 36th hole.
Don't fucking say it.
A birdie would have clinched his spot, and now it is heading to a playoff, likely, depending on how everything else finishes out. So, yeah, not great. Not great, dude.
So, for those of you who don't know, today is golf's longest day. It is the final opportunity to qualify for the U.S. Open. Max Homa and Ricky Fowler are probably the two biggest stars, but guys like Stuart Sink are out there. Max Homa has struggled so much the last 6 to 8 months. And he was cruising. He cruised through his first round. They're playing 2 18-hole rounds of golf, 36 holes, walking, and Max Homa's carrying his own bag. And he 3-putts to miss the U.S. Open, and now he's got to go re-earn it in a playoff. Ugh. Can you imagine how difficult that is?
I might add, if it all shakes out the way it is. Like,
was it a bad 3-putt?
Yeah, he was like 5 feet for birdie, and he missed that. Yeah. Yep.
Anybody who plays golf has been there.
Yeah.
I mean, God, dog, that sucks. All right. Let me get through some more of your comments, because I want you guys, I see some of the people saying, oh, you're running from our, I'm not running from anybody's comment. The best part, and I hope you guys understand this, the best part is I have no dog in the fight.
Yeah.
Do I care? Of course I care. Am I rooting for one side or the other? Pac-12 fans are miserable SOBs. So am I rooting against the Pac-12? No. Am I rooting for the Mountain West? Not particularly. I'm rooting for the best case for the universities. We already have educational issues in this country. You should have merged. But now you've kind of turned it into a blood sport. That's what I would say. All right. A couple more. PAC is going for $50 million a year. Try $150 million a year per school, Marty. Dude. I hope the only way that this is worth a thing is if it's, I think the bottom end is $5 million.
Mm-hmm.
And that isn't even, you can't afford ketchup for your steak at that point.
No.
Right. And I think it needs to be significantly more than that. It needs to be, I mean, it probably needs, if you're an 8-team league, it probably needs to be a minimum of $64 million, eight per school. That's the only way it's worth any of this. Any of it. You've lost so much money in legal fees. Lasakowski, how much does it cost for a whole conference to move up to FBS? Everybody's got to pay. Everybody's got to pay. The lower, below the G5, dude. That's the other interesting thing about this. If these two conferences stay in existence, how many of them can afford to go to whatever the new football entity is?
I would say none.
I don't know that any of them can.
Yeah,
how many
none.
of them can opt into profit sharing? How many of them can opt into the house settlement, which is coming this week? These are the things that nobody in the Pac-12 or the Mountain West in the fan bases think about. I mean, again, not for nothing, but in talking to a particular administrator at a Mountain West school, do you know how concerned they are about the house settlement? Hell, talking to a Big 12 source, they're really concerned about the house settlement and the how much those roster sizes matter per man. Like one extra body on a roster Think about how much more money that is. And that's at the power level. Go down to the G5 level. How many pennies are they counting per body in college football? Because college football is massively expensive.
Yeah.
Why do you think Gonzaga doesn't play college football? Why do you think GCU doesn't play college football?
Why do you think Gonzaga didn't want to go to the Big 12?
Exactly right. Because you can't afford to miss a tournament at Gonzaga's level.
Yeah.
You need to be in the tournament every single year because you need that money. You need that money to run your athletic department because Gonzaga basketball makes Gonzaga baseball and everything else possible the way that Notre Dame football makes everything else possible because Lord knows we don't win a goddamn thing on the basketball floor. Too much. Timothy O'Hara. Hello, Timothy. Good to see you. Oregon State was good with Jonathan Smith, not when he left for Michigan State. And it hurts, man.
But that's the kind of thing that happens.
But
I mean, you can't blame
right.
Jonathan. That's the kind of thing that happens.
Can you really be pissed at Jonathan Smith for leaving? You probably cannot. Or any of the other coaches or should you be pissed at Pat Choon for leaving Washington State? You can't. Jeremiah Smith, Cougar Tracks, go to word timeout. Can I ever be forgiven? No, probably not. Probably not. Well, to be fair, Big Ten basically killed the PAC, even though they tried to act like it was the Big 12's fault. Well, I think
it's
just such a different set of circumstances.
It's the Pac-12's fault, bro. Don't conflate the issue. It is the Pac-12's fault. It is not the Big Ten or the Big 12's fault. Those two just were there to pick up the pieces.
I can't even blame USC, although the way Carol Folt was a gangster, dude.
Yeah.
Saying no to poach. And this is the other thing. You tried to fucking poach Big 12 schools.
Yes, you did.
You guys remember that when you were trying to get what was it? Oak State, Oklahoma, Texas. I can't remember who the fourth school was, but you were trying to get 4 schools out of the Big 12 to join the Mountain West. And Carol Folt was like, nah, I'm good. I got to go. And she's quite literally going because she's got to call the Big Ten back to fax that contract over.
Yes.
I ain't got time for that.
Here, let me hang up phone 1 and pick up phone 2.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine the conversations that Carol Folt had with Kevin Warren when he was at the Big Ten. Carol, people aren't going to like you. That's amazing. Fight on. If anything, the commissioner ruined the conference. He ruined the Big Ten for sure. TJ Beck. Will the Pac-12 revenue share with their athletes? If not, you can't compete with the P4s. I think if you're the Pac-12, you have no choice. You have to.
Yeah, but again, dude,
how do you not?
How do you afford it though? How are you going to afford that, man?
I don't think you can. Do you know how damaging that is for recruiting?
Where is this extra? What is it? 20 mil to start out, and then it goes up from there as the agreement goes on.
It's essentially punitive when you make more money.
Yeah,
I mean,
so I just don't understand. I don't disagree that yeah, you want to, but hell, I want a Lamborghini. That doesn't mean that I get one. You can want to revenue share, and you can want to do these things. You can want to absolutely, pillage the Mountain West and think you're going to get away with everything. That doesn't mean you're going to. Again, it's this whole concept, and it's a great point, TJ, as usual. Bro, you can want to be the biggest, baddest conference, but you're not Greg Sankey, bro. You're not the SEC. You're not Roll Tide. You're not Georgia.
I agree.
With all due respect, you're Boise State, dude. Let's not get confused.
Shuey Gonzalez, but Monty, no but Monty.
But Monty.
The Pac-12 has an awesome office located in downtown San Francisco.
The ops building is incredible.
It's now in San Ramon, and it is the Pac-12 production facility. I'm telling you, having seen it, the Pac-12 production facility is.
Yeah, James, can we get an update on the ops building for the Pac-12, dude?
Yeah. You mean Horny James?
Yeah.
Larry Scott penthouse, baby. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Magazine and actual penthouses. Johnny Gonzalez, anybody that gets told, quote, you're out of your mind in the chat, trust me, this is still the show for you. It really is. It really is. Noel Ramirez, the moral compass always points towards a place offering more money. Funny how that works. Funny how that works. Day one, Rob, you're in word timeout. Yeah, I don't know how that works either. Truth.
Wait, is he legitimately in timeout?
I don't
know. Did he get filtered or something?
Boyd Lake, Utah waited until they absolutely had to move. Yeah. Waited until they had to move. And I'd remind you they had help from BYU. So, I would remind you of that. Ricardo Trevino, the withdrawal of the Mountain West teams had to happen to merge the PAC-2 and the Mountain West to merge under the umbrella of the PAC-2. Go UTEP. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I just think you might be thinking about that just a little bit incorrectly.
I think we're probably past that. Honestly, I think a merger would be a shocking turn of events. Lying, cheating, and playing the victim. Exactly.
I mean,
right.
That's exactly what this is, though, dude. I mean, is college football not pervasive with that?
Oh, I don't
like. Is that not what we all like, bro? Whether it's this situation, whether it's the Big Ten, I mean, how many situations where we're gonna Carol Folt it, then we're gonna lie about what we did, and then we're gonna be upset that the paperwork we quite literally created, then signed.
Guys, we were just buying cheeseburgers for those hungry schools.
What?
Those schools, they were hungry.
Cheating, lying, and then playing the victim.
What do you mean, bro? Like, come on.
Monty has a killer moral compass. He's a non-practicing Catholic pretending to be a Mormon.
Doesn't get any more red, white, and blue than that.
And it's recovering Catholic, please.
Yeah,
Eric Wasikowski, as soon as I first heard of the alliance, I knew that wasn't going to last long.
Yeah, anytime you hear the alliance, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. Sergeant Green says Pac-12 fans were the victims. They were, no doubt. Wasikowskinator, Pac-12 fans are just upset. Go Big Ten. They are. And they have every right to be. They have every right to be. No doubt. I criticize U of U leadership for waiting. Fortunately, good leadership meant not getting left behind in the sinking ship like Wazoo and Oregon State. Man, I think Utah handled it perfectly. I think Mark Harlan and Taylor Randall, and they were constantly the calming voice in the late days of the Pac-12, trying to facilitate conversations and the BS, again, because certain folks in this industry are bitter. Taylor Randall never proposed $50 million per school. Like, that is so irrationally revisionist. It's crazy to me. Shuey, Utah tried to keep the Pac-12 together day one, Rob, you jabroni. When the seams were coming apart, they left. And I think they did exactly what they should have done. Damian Fowler, it seems like everybody on the show is anti-Pac-12, but nobody wants to admit it. I'm just not. I'm anti-Pac-12 as far as business practices go.
If just because this is the real problem with this. What we like to do in sports now is we like to say, oh, you're anti. If the truth is the Pac-12 is not in a strong position financially right now, and it's hard to see how they're going to survive in 12, 24, 48 months, that doesn't mean we're anti-Pac-12.
No.
That's just the reality of the situation. And you're not getting away from, hey, these two should have merged, and that would have been a better outcome. Like, you're not getting away from that. That doesn't make us anti-Pac-12. But we're what we're not going to do, and again, Damien, you know this, we're not going to sugarcoat things, man.
No.
Like, this is the situation. If that means I hate the Pac-12, I guess so be it.
Okay. Let's get into the TikTok DMs.
Oh, yes.
Or excuse me, more importantly, the TikTok message request.
Yes. Who's calling you dumb today?
Freddie on the Palouse.
Hey, Fred.
Who the fuck are you?
So see, it's a play on Washington State. Freddie on the loose, Freddie on the Palouse.
Right.
I give you a lot of credit for that one, Freddie. Freddie on the Palouse says, I don't think you hate the Pac-12. I just think you're stupid. This is a great way to start this.
Bro.
Kirk Schultz saved the Pac-12. It wouldn't be an entity at all without him. You guys hated on him from the beginning when he took that $1 billion risk. of positioning himself between Pac-12 fans in the college football playoff. You'll never admit it, but that's what happened.
Wow.
Kirk Schultz saved nothing. He had a staff revolt, allegedly, at Washington State because of spending on Nick Rolacock and the football team and the rest of the athletic department at Washington State.
I didn't sleep for the past 2 nights because of this. I was that upset.
There's not a Washington State fan outside of Freddie on the Palouse who thinks that Kirk Schultz saved anything.
Oh, sure. Of course, I understand why people are upset.
Bro, is it handout free crack day on the Palouse? Like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. Chewy Gonzalez, Yankees imploded in an 18-2 loss to the Dodgers. Chewy's been a member for 6 months. That was a pretty entertaining series, though. That was a pretty entertaining series. I'll give you that. Monty stepping up the showgram, trying. People ripping on Monty on TikTok reminds me of the old Kimmel mean tweets segment. I love reading
Dude, that's funny as hell.
I think you guys know this. If you're new to the show, maybe you don't. Please hit the like button, by the way. But I don't often venture to the land of X.
Mm-hmm.
I do not. I never read DMs on X. I don't read my notification. Apparently, I've missed many nudes that our guy TCU fan James, why we call him, he's a TCU fan. That's why we call him Horny James. Horny James apparently sends Jake's DMs and tags us. You can have all that. I do not get into the Twitterverse, but dude, it's hysterical to me how many people will send me DMs on TikTok and on Insta Snapface being like, hey, blah, blah, blah. You're ignoring me on X. I'm like, yeah, and I just blocked you on here too. So take good care, friend. Like, it's not life and death for me. And people don't like, the hardest part about being as a fan, you don't like the truth.
Yeah.
And the reality is the Pac-12 will never be what it once was, and never, ever will it be what it should have been. And now it is going to float. And hopefully not sink. Because it's like a boat. Every boat on this planet is sinking. It's just a matter of who's got a better captain. And right now, you don't have a better captain at the Pac-12. Because you got the same one you've always had. And, Kirk Schultz was the one feeding Canzano all the BS info that turned out to be false. And you guys tell me I don't have sources and I'm always wrong. So if I'm always wrong, what has John Canzano been? Just go to the back of the envelope calculations interview. Nothing? Do you understand how bad that interview was?
Back of the envelope calculations.
He's been wrong at every turn on the Pac-12, and all he does is parrot what the Pac-12 gives him. And it's why he is usually wrong. Jedi Order XX. Pac-12 is a boat with holes. Everybody's boat is... This is the truth about college sports. Everybody's boat is taking on water. It's just a matter of who's got the right shipmates.
You're the weakest of the weak.
Who's got the right captains? Who's running their ships the best? And it's never been the Pac-12.
No.
And if you're a Pac-12 fan and you can't understand that, bro. Cougar Tracks, if you block us, do we still need to keep paying our memberships?
Bro,
But
we don't
that's the
block
funny
people,
thing.
dude.
We don't block anybody.
Yeah, we don't block people, bro.
Like if you're a jackwagon on Instagram and TikTok, you're never going to hear from me again.
Yeah. We don't block you on YouTube, bro.
I don't think people understand. I don't block anybody. Especially on YouTube. It's terrible for business. You want to rip me in the comment section? Hey, great. You will never find me blocking people on YouTube. It's bad. The haters watch your content more. Right? Like the best part about Twitter is I get all these dudes that'll be like, hey, Monty, did you see this guy stole your video? Yeah, and make sure you tell him I said thank you. Because they share the videos. Oh, look what this idiot said. And then hopefully every one of their subscribers or followers or whoever watches it. That's great for business. You're not breaking me. You're making me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, take my video, share it.
Put it on the Reddit feed.
Send it to your friends. Put it on the message boards. Put it on cougartracks.com or whatever the Cougar thing is, the BYU message board. Please let everybody come and watch it. You're amazing. There has only one guy who got blocked in 5 years. Yes, that is true. And he quite literally was crazy. So yeah, I'll give Monty that. I've gone nuclear on here, and help yourself. I'm never blocking people.
I've gone nuclear on here.
Well, you are a Utah fan, so that's not surprising. PAC had boat holes and used Mountain West to fill those holes. Yes, they did. San Diego State, Glenn, how are you feeling, Glenn? Have you taken your temperature rectally this hour? Give us an update.
Wow.
Monty is anti-Pac-12 business practices. Do imagine how I feel with my school's leadership having a hard-on for all the PAC's iterations.
Bro.
So true.
Stay hard.
So true. So sad. You guys need a football program. Can you imagine how much stronger the Pac-12 will be if San Diego State has a 2-loss, 1-loss season and wins the conference? And my question is, if you have 2 undefeated teams, let's say UNLV and San Diego State, UNLV and Boise State go undefeated in football because they've been the 2 best teams in recent years in the Mountain West. So Boise goes undefeated in the Pac-12, UNLV goes undefeated in the Mountain West. Who's getting the college football playoff spot? Good luck.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's one spot. That's it. PAC had, I read that one, my apologies. Damian Fowler, so how much does the Mountain West owe UNLV? I believe it's $60 million. Thereabouts. Give or take $1 million. San Diego State Aztec Mike, forever your idol Gloria will always be the commish who lost the best team in the Mountain Worst. UNLV stayed, though. My idol? See, like, explain that comment. Mike, I'm here for you. Let's have the conversation. If Gloria is forever your idol, Gloria. So tell me, first of all, is there anybody who'd pick Teresa Gould over Gloria Navarez if you could only have one as a commissioner? Because I don't know anybody who would make that call. So, and forever my idol. She is forever the commissioner who lost the best teams in the Mountain Worst. Okay, so then I ask you, who the fuck is JD Wicker's idol? Well, in all honesty, you're from San Diego State, and you're telling me my idol's Gloria. I'll take Gloria. You take JD Wicker and let them administer something related to sports. Who wins? Because it ain't JD Wicker. I'll take your mom against JD Wicker. That guy can't manage an athletic department to save his own life, and he won't shut up. Because let's not forget the massive TV deal that you were supposed to get. Bro,
did the TV deal come in yet? Or
do you see how easy you make this when you say stuff like you can't have a normal, educated conversation without insulting people? That's when you know you lost, because you insult people constantly. And anybody that has ever been around, here's the truth about San Diego State. Great people, the students, the alumni, they have really good faculty there. And then there's JD Wicker. Yeah, can't hit a home run with all your hires, can you? Like, tell me where JD Wicker's done a good job on this Pac-12 love affair, and you say, I have an idol. How long have you guys been thirsty for the Pac-12? And now you get the Pac-12. Is it really a step up? Don't think you can do that. Don't think you can say that. But you just keep coming in and then leaving one comment and running away. Like,
classic.
It is exactly classic. Luis Moreno, praise Gloria for Grand Canyon State and UC Davis. I think that Grand Canyon's an excellent basketball school. UC Davis keeps them whole. UC Davis is your Texas State. So.
Yeah, and by the way, I think, the other thing I would say is, cool, dude, keep hating. Come back here when you have an answer as to how you're going to pay your bills in the Pac-12. Come back here after mediation's done and after you actually have a grant of rights for the next 4 seasons. And let's see how deep the hole is, because I think that's what Pac-12 fan and frankly Mountain West hater don't want to talk about. You want to pick on their schools? Cool. Do that, dude. Show us your real colors, right? When people talk, take them at face value. When they show you who they really are, believe them.
Believe them. And J.D. Wicker has shown you who he is.
Over and over and over again.
I don't understand and this is why guys like Glenn, San Diego State Glenn, and most other San Diego State fans are fantastic. But you get guy who comes in here insulting Gloria Nevarez and talking about how she lost the best teams. You're not amongst the best teams. That's the problem. You're not the best schools because you're so poorly managed that you couldn't get into the Pac-12 the first time. And now this time you guys understand that San Diego State is the singular reason the bylaws were rewritten to make it so that you had to write a letter and send a check to withdraw. And now you're trying to fight against those penalties. That's what's so crazy. This is San Diego State's fault. But yet, we persist. It is what it is, man. I'm always happy to have the conversation. But if you want to come in and lob insults at people, go do it on somebody else's show, because I want conversations.
Yeah.
I'm not here for the everybody sucks, we're the best, because that's just not the reality of it.
Yeah, it's not true.
That's not the reality of it,
yeah.
Right? Which also not true is that people like Greg Sankey. That's a complete lie. Let's get into Greg Sankey in this Dan Patrick clip today, because I actually want to not have 5 hours of Greg Sankey's a jerk conversation today. Now, did I not say last week, I think the college football playoff should be 1 through 16, and then let's go have a playoff.
Right, and you just play it out.
You just play it out.
Yeah.
I am not for reseeding. I am not for, hey, automatic qualifiers, this conference champion gets a bye. No, hell no. 1 through 16. That's what I am for. And furthermore, I think if you're a G5, Boise State, and you're ranked in the top 16, okay, great. 1 G5 gets in. If that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do. And I'm just curious, Greg Sankey, what do you think about auto bids?
Well, I've been one who said over time, I'd give no allocation. So this whole 5-7 thing that exists now, I just make it the 12 best teams. And I was clear on that. Now, when we get into rooms, we make political compromises, if you will, small p, not like Congress political compromises, but to achieve an outcome.
But who decides on the top 12 teams?
Selection committee. Yeah. But here's what I think. I think we've spent so much time expanding and working through our own little side arguments about teams and, oh, we can't do this. We need this. You got to protect this bowl game or that bowl game. We never went back to the essence of decision making, which is how are teams selected? As everyone relocated over the last 4 or 5 years, do the analyses that existed and worked for the 14 playoff in 2014 still have the same relevance? And we're behind that curve, in my opinion.
I agree with him 100%. I think it has to be the 5+11. But if I had my way, if it was up to me, it'd be no committee. No, and when we talk about selection committee, what that scumbag from Michigan did to completely try and derail the college football playoff last year would never happen again. And I think I would absolutely have it be 1 through 16, strength of schedule, strength of record, P4 opponents. Like, I'd have it be based on what did you do on the field? Here are the 16 teams.
Yeah, you got to have agreed upon,
You got to have an agreed upon criteria.
Yeah, criteria and stuff like that for Darth Sankey to dominate you in the conversation.
I would have nobody on a selection committee. I think realistically, the 5+11 makes the most sense, because I think if you have the 4 conference champions, 1 G5 team, and then you're going to have 11 at-large bids, okay, great. Make it 10 because Notre Dame.
Yeah, and I think that, when you hear Greg Sankey say things like, we're working on these semi-political issues, like, but he puts that in context or, in perspective of like, not to say it's like Congress politics, but more like, politics between the conferences, trying to figure out what everyone can agree upon. I still think this point about, specifically the Big 12 not wanting to put off this image of being inferior by doing the 4-4-2-2 format is super relevant and at the forefront of it. And that's why I think, Greg Sankey's very careful to talk about like, hey, this is what I would want, but this is what it's going to be based on the politics of, the conversations in the room. Because that's what I feel like he's doing. He's essentially saying, hey, well, if it was up to me, this is what I'd do. But it's not up to me. It's up to me plus everybody else, and this is what was agreed upon.
I think the smartest thing I heard today from a college football guy I talked to on the regular, who said, I think there's going to be a version of like Donald Trump's Save College Sports Committee thing.
The commission.
You're going to have a committee that is made up of people who know how football works. No more politicians. No more cool story, bro. He's on TV. Like, no more of that. I think you are going to have football coaches, players, administrators, active or otherwise. Nick Saban is an example. Peyton Manning's an example. Like all the names that we've heard floated about for this committee. I think until we are in a place where wins and losses can determine it, I think you are going to have football people making football decisions.
Yes.
And universally, I think everybody agrees with that, because you can't have, and the name that was put to me was Condoleezza Rice from Stanford, and obviously a politician, and can't have Condi Rice making a decision. I agree with that. But the problem is that scumbag from Michigan who tried to screw Ohio State last year can't have that either. And that's why I think you have to have somebody who is retired. Urban Meyer's a name that I hear a lot. Again, Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, and Peyton Manning are the 3 names I hear all the time. Those 3 guys should somehow be involved with who's in and who's out. Because how are you going to argue with those dudes?
Yeah.
And it cannot be an even number of people. I wholeheartedly agree with this. You can't have unanimity and think that it is the best way to get, well, it has to be unanimous. Nah, actually it doesn't. By a 3-2 vote, Alabama got left out and your mom's Sewing Circle Institute got put in.
Yeah, I think it's really important, especially when you look at the Florida State situation from 2 years ago, or Alabama this year, or this past season as an example. We have to be able, in the media and in the public, we have to be able to react to the committee saying, hey, just like you just said, hey, we voted 3-2 to keep this team out and put this team in based on this rubric that we've all agreed upon.
And
pre-season.
Here's the argument for in. Here's the, hey, Urban Meyer didn't want him in because he said that Aaron Hernandez was innocent. On the other hand, I don't have another retort, but I think it's very interesting that that's how it would be done.
Because that was the outrage of the Florida State thing, is that nobody could understand why. I mean, I did because of the Jordan Travis injury, but everyone felt like that didn't matter. It was just record.
But can you imagine if you had former Florida State head coach or whoever, Charlie Ward, if you had a former Florida State legend saying, well, I fought for Florida State, but, their belief was that without Jordan Travis, the football team just wasn't good enough. Right. And they weren't going to win at a high level. Okay. I can deal with that when it's Peyton Manning and Pervin Liar and Nick Saban and
guys with credibility.
I can deal with that.
Not rando, administrator from economics 1812.
And
that
I
just
think
is in the room.
And I think it has to be like a Jimbo Fisher. 3 years, you serve on a 3-year term, and there's 5. I would love it to be a small group, 5 dudes, no rankings throughout. Screw the rankings throughout the season. It's 1 through 16. And here's why.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. We ranked them this way because I don't believe that a conference championship game should put somebody into the college football playoff. I don't. Are you one of the 16 best teams? Because nobody's going to convince me that SMU was one of the 16 best teams last year.
No way.
Nobody's convincing me that, whoever was one of the. I don't buy that. Now, Boise State gave Oregon State hell last year, won the conference. Great. They're in. Stipulated. Boom. Other than that, I want to fight to the death. As a Notre Dame fan, I can tell you, I never believed we were one of the 12 best teams last year. I just didn't buy that.
Mm-hmm.
Did it work out? It did. We went on a run.
You were one of the 12 best defenses in the country. I can tell you that.
Without question. We had listen, at quarterback, I agree. I think we had one of the best 278 quarterbacks that have ever played the game in the last 6 months from high school to Pop Warner. I think we had the best quarterback in that group.
Yeah.
Was Riley Leonard one of the 12 best quarterbacks in college football last year? Absolutely
well, his mom
not.
texted him that he sucks. So, I mean,
he was not.
And
Penn State was Drew Aller. Yeah, that turned out to be a complete fraud. So I want 5 guys or gals that have been directly involved in college football that understand the gravity of games. That team had no business being in the postseason in a college football playoff without Jordan Travis.
100%.
It's not rocket science.
But I think this piece about Greg Sankey talking about reseeding or not reseeding and the decision-making process, this whole thing about whether after the first round there should be reseeding.
No,
I think was only brought up by people who, are not necessarily in the room making decisions. People who want to reseed after the first round don't trust the process. And
what's the logic in it?
The logic is, hey, okay, the first round was the 16 best teams, right? And 1 through 16, you've got your 5 autos and the 11 others. Okay, great. And then half that field gets chopped down. And now, based on what comes out of that, the chaos that we know college football to be, we're going to reseed. And my main point with not reseeding is, let's say that 1 year, 16 takes down 1. Okay, cool. Hell of a story for college football. Let's see who's next. I think it ruins the story.
Reseeding, when you reseed teams after the first round, you throw out what happened in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
And it, in my opinion, it belittles the hard work, the blood, sweat, and tears, if you will, that went into winning that game at the Swamp. And you remember, and he threw that, Cam Ward made that great throw in Restrepo. And, oh man, it takes that quotient away. And I just don't want to do that. I think if you are looking at reseeding, you're saying what you guys did in the regular season doesn't matter anymore. And I think that's completely wrong.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it matters what you did in the regular season. And if one beats 16 and Oregon completely craps the bed after the bye week, hey, that's the way sports is. That is the way games are played. We deal with it in the NFL playoffs every year, and football is a rhythmic sport. Most people don't understand that, but when you're in a groove, your schedule doesn't change during the season. On Mondays, I'm taking a dump at 10. On Tuesdays, it's 11. And on Fridays, I don't take a dump at all. It's bad luck. That's every single Monday, Tuesday, and Friday.
Yes.
Rhythmic. I eat lunch at noon. Rhythmic. And when you get out of that rhythm, it's really hard to get that back. Only the elite teams can do it. I don't care about the bye week thing. I care about what happened not on the bye week of the playoff, but in week 4 when this guy did that with this dude, right? That's what reseeding does. And I agree with Greg Sankey. I'm not for it.
Well, not really reseeding, because almost, a week and a half ago, For the 25 season, this College Football Playoff Management Committee, which is the commissioners and the Notre Dame athletic director, agreed to just go to straight seeding by ranking. So the movement of teams outside the top four into the top four, that won't happen in 2025. You're gonna get what you earn. Same for home games. We've not gone back into the reseeding question. And Dan, if you go back to June of 21, which was like ancient history in college sports, when the 12-team model was introduced, and we went back through this about a month ago with everybody involved on that management committee. One of the questions was, should we be in reseeding? We never really got back to that because you remember the SEC had this little expansion to 16, great disruption in the force. Then we had 22, an expansion of the Big Ten. So we waited around for a year. Now we've been in hurry up mode since. So we haven't talked so much about reseeding as we did just about honoring the rankings in the bracket.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Honor the rankings, honor the season, and I think that's hugely important. Real quick, big update from golf's longest day. Ricky Fowler birdies 18 in the Columbus, Ohio qualifier to get into a playoff that includes Max Homa and Eric Cole, PXG. Max Homa, Ricky Fowler, Eric Cole, and who else?
Cam Young.
So the four guys. But in Columbus, Eric Van Rooyen shot 13 under to qualify. Like, unbelievable. Today in golf, and if you're not a golf fan, bite the bullet for 30 seconds. Today in golf, it's one of the great performance days of the year. You have these guys out here, a lot of them without caddies, a lot of them without their coach. They left Muirfield yesterday at Jack's tournament and went and, go over to Columbus. And I mean, it's amazing to see how this stuff is playing out today. These guys are fighting for a spot in the U.S. Open, not this weekend, but next weekend at Oakmont. And it's not like they're fighting to win the U.S. Open. That's going to be the hardest U.S. Open in probably 30 years at Oakmont. The rough is going to be the longest rough that we've seen in a decade at a U.S. Open. The greens are going to be double-digit rollers. Like, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, they want the winner of that tournament to be over par. They want the winner to be like 1 or 2 over.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think there's a real chance that happens. And like, just it's crazy watching these guys compete at this level. I love golf. I think everybody who's not new to the show knows we are golf fanatics. Big shout out to Callaway Odyssey. Odyssey Golf is owned by Callaway. They sent me a putter this week that I'm going to start using. They sent me one of the jailbird putters with a 38-inch shaft on it. They wanted to match anatomically. Nothing.
No.
Okay.
Trying to get the scoreboard pulled up here. Sorry.
So big shout out to Odyssey Golf. So you can expect to see some content on that. But watching Ricky Fowler's, this guy can really putt. Ricky Fowler can really, really putt. And so we're going to have a 4-man playoff. And I would assume, I don't know how many spots are left in that qualifier, but I'm excited about that. Okay. So there you have it. Johnny Gonzalez, they got that good looking blonde for the Gilmore sequel. How about the Happy Gilmore sequel? Timothy O'Hara, if he was still alive, Eddie Robinson would have a great member. Oh, yeah, would have been a great member on the committee. I loved his fire. He's one of the great football interviews that we have done or that I've done in my career. The guy is unbelievable. So Eric Cole, Max Homa, Ricky Fowler, and Cam Young are all 5 under.
Yes, and we're playing a playoff.
That's unbelievable. And they're going to play until they're done.
Yeah.
Period. I am amazing.
I don't know for this if it's a 3-hole playoff or just.
We'll find out.
Yeah,
we'll find out. San Diego State Glen, but Monty, that dump has to happen at 12:01 the next day if you choose to miss a day for fortuitous reasons. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. 12:01, taking a dump.
Little breaking NFL news.
Yes.
Eagles have now agreed to trade defensive end Bryce Huff to the 49ers for a 2026 mid-round draft pick pending physical, according to Schefter.
There we go.
So a little defensive help there.
Things are moving. Let's see. Backwoods, sexy Mike Smith. ND guy should not be on the committee. Yeah, I said it. I would agree with that. I think Notre Dame is one of the most influential brands in all of college. There's probably in all of sports.
Yeah.
But you sold your soul to the SEC and the Big Ten for an auto bid every year. And I would agree with Mike Smith. I don't think they should be. I don't love the way we do football at Notre Dame. We don't do basketball, or I would have said that.
What about hockey, dude?
No, Notre Dame hockey.
Dude.
Now you're cooking with gas.
We're crushing people.
Oh,
yeah.
I am a Notre Dame hockey's legit. Notre Dame hockey is absolutely legit. Eric Wasikowski, a member for 17 months. Frank Ragnow retiring. Yeah. How about that? Boy, Eric is, for those who don't know, he lives in Florida in the Panhandle. And Eric is a Detroit/Michigan sports fan. He's kind of a scumbag. Admittedly, I don't think Eric would disagree. As a fan of the Red Wings, nobody likes Little Caesars Pizza.
Yeah.
As a fan of Cade Cunningham, you prick. Nobody likes the Pistons, including
fuck you.
including Ron Artest.
Yeah.
But
at the Palace.
But an unforgiving Michigan State fan and a
How's
Detroit
your
Lions
iPhone
fan.
doing?
Yeah, how's your iPhone doing?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
But absolutely a big time fan of the Detroit Lions. You guys have had a tough go this offseason, and this is why the NFL is so amazing and so grueling, because when you win, you just get pillaged.
Unless you're the Chiefs.
Yeah, and then they hand you wins.
Yeah.
You lose coaches across the board. You lose players. I mean, it's really tough to keep that thing going. So, yeah, I think Ragnow's a big leader on that team. And it's always tough when your center on the offensive line is such a stud and such a leader and such a commander. It's very difficult to replace that. Frat houses are watching the WNBA now. Okay. Yeah.
Day 871 of taking Angel Reese to miss her first shot.
Dick is the committee. You can argue with the gods later, please. Yeah. When they're done building that new stadium on a horse track.
Just a stalwartness.
How are the Bears getting away from the lakefront? You figure it out.
That's bullshit.
The economic impact to the city of Chicago of having the Chicago Bears play in Arlington Heights alone should have gotten that deal done. But you know what? I just work here, and it is what it could be, and that is trouble. What's up with the shoulder stretching? I had an itch on the back of my trap.
Yeah, he's got some cramping.
I couldn't
from
reach it
some
with my left, and
activities
then
last night.
Yeah, boy. You know, Monty, what's your opinion on the indoor golf league? Oh, I love it.
You mean TGL?
Yeah, TGL. I love it. I hate indoor golf. If you follow me on Insta, Snapface, TikTok, you know I play a ton of golf. I had a lesson yesterday with my swing coach, and the TrackMan is just so full of crap.
Here's the deal. I'm the best there is.
The metrics are correct. Club speed, ball speed, face contact. Like, we were looking at the face of my driver, and it's almost to the exact point. The TrackMan says it hit, and it hits there. But the ball flight, it tends to over-exaggerate anything that slices or hooks. So if you hit a draw, it's going to show a much larger draw. I'm somebody that now is hitting a cut, so it shows a much larger cut. But I just hate indoor golf in general. I'm so burned out on hitting off of mats, and it just drives me crazy. Now I'm absolutely balling right now with the irons. The irons in the short game, really, really good right now. It's Chicago politics, Marty. Everyone wants their piece of the pie, no matter how deep the dish. It's never enough. It's never enough.
Facts.
That steroid acne on Monty's back is itching. You know what the funny thing is about that, Mike? So I was injecting my butt yesterday. No, I'm kidding.
Bro, injecting your butt.
Biologics.
Yeah, I was talking about this the other week. My skin is changing, right? I'm 50 years old now.
Biologics.
My skin is changing. So I went through this period where I was constantly itching.
What are you, a snake?
No, but it might have been scabies. So I go to the dermatologist. He gives me a little cream, some ointment. It'll take care of
cream, not your first time,
And I change all of my detergents. He's like, hey, you've got to use unscented, completely free of anything, body soap, shampoo, lotion, everything.
Juicy.
Detergent, everything. And I think that's what it was, because all of that itching and the marks, I was getting these little red dots on my skin. And I have really pretty healthy skin. I never got acne. It just wasn't my thing. And so finally I had washed all my clothes. We changed our sheets at the end of the week. That week, washed them in that all clear, the all brand detergent.
Oh,
They make the white bottle.
Yeah.
And not the cream in the clear.
Right.
The clear, right. The fragrance free or whatever. And I think that's what it was, because it's all over with now. Lopes fan Gabe, but do you lean or stand to inject? I lean. Team stand and squat.
Hey, no reset.
Can you imagine being a baseball player injecting yourself with steroids?
I don't know. Let's ask Mark McGuire.
But then again, I'm the guy. Well, he was in his locker. He used androstenedione.
Melky Cabrera, your thoughts?
Yeah, Melky. And at that point, it was rub testosterone cream all over your body after a shower. But what I'm telling you is, I'm the guy who says I can't understand why these dudes around the country are packing their buttholes full of Zyn. Right? I'm not making this up. If you're new to the show, there's a Zyn tobacco package you're supposed to put in your mouth. Dudes mouth. Guys were packing their foreskin in their buttholes.
Janus.
Supposedly it gave them a better high.
Yeah, they just felt a little more connected to themselves, and it was great.
Nah, I'm fine. I'm fine.
ducking, no smoke.
I don't need a butthole high. I'm fine. Everyone assume the position, Jedi says.
Yeah,
exactly.
Bohica.
Yeah. Hey, how about your Oklahoma Sooner softball club?
Yeah.
Not bad. I do not believe your junk science. Yeah, seriously. I ain't, Jeff Whitworth, don't knock it till you try it, Monty.
Yeah, we're not making any changes.
Attaboy, Jeff.
Yeah, let's consult the cocaine meth pipe raccoon.
Monty, don't lie. It was that penicillin shot that cured your woes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get that outbreak. Bro, we're watching, my wife and I, after Mobland yesterday, and it was
incredible.
They better bring a season 2, which supposedly they are. Mobland was unbelievable. The way that Richie goes out, gas. And I don't care if you haven't seen it. Screw you.
I saw
the
it.
Fact, not you, them. Yeah. The fact that Harry shoots the lawyer first is so good.
Epic.
It is so good. He shoots the lawyer. She's laying on the ground dying. He shoots Richie, or he shoots Richie, and then Richie's still alive. And Kevin starts talking to Richie, right? And Richie's the one who then smiles back at them, and Kevin puts a bullet in his left eye. And then
the name Harrigan's going to have meaning again.
And then Harry rolls up to the lawyer and puts one between the eyes. It is one of the best. It was so good. Listen up, everyone. Monty did not enjoy the butt high. I did not. Mobland finale was freaking killer. It was really good.
Yeah.
Really, really good. I loved it. I absolutely, the Harrigans say hi. Exactly right.
Dude.
And the fact that Harry's like, let's leave him in jail for a week, is phenomenal. You knew, And maybe the show is too predictable. I don't know. But I think we talked about this last week.
Yeah.
You knew he recorded that woman. You knew that crooked cop was going to kill the lady cop.
I also thought the Kevin killing his, buddy from jail, to be nice about it, was just a turning point for the season. The way they did that, the fact that was included in 2 episodes.
That he killed him when he was trying to be nice to him. Kevin told him to get out of the house. His prison guard rapist buddy, hillbilly rapist boy. Kevin stalks this guy down. So Kevin was in jail as a youth. The prison guard sexually assaulted him repeatedly. One thing leads to another. He finds out that the prison guard's wife is in an old folks home. He meets him there. They go back to his house. Kevin starts basically telling him, hey, this is who you are. This is who I am. And he pulls out a gun, puts a silencer on it. And then eventually says to the prison guard, just get out of here. Like, I don't want to kill you. Just leave. The prison guard essentially has his hand on the doorknob to leave. And he comes back to comfort Kevin.
And what did he ask him? Do you have any children? And that was the end of the show for Buddy.
The prison guard sits down at the table and Kevin shoots him. And Kevin doesn't have any children, by the way.
Well, now we found that out last night.
But we knew that the whole time.
Yeah, but it was needed to become official, and everyone needed to get on the same page that it was known.
Yeah. It changed Kevin, and it opened his eyes to the boy not being his, but his dad's. And the Kevin Conrad conversation in jail. How long does Kevin live in the next season? 1, maybe 2 episodes?
Oh, no. I think it's how long does Conrad live?
No. You're not killing Conrad. You're not. You're not doing that.
Quick little sidebar here with the golf thing. Cam Young had to birdie the last hole as well to join Ricky in the playoff. So it turns out they both birdied 18 to get into the playoff with Max Homa, Eric Cole, and now Chase Johnson. So it's a 5-man playoff now.
I need to know the structure of that playoff.
Yeah.
I hope we have Golf Channel on in the background. Massive Disney layoffs forthcoming. Maybe. We'll see. Maeve will determine who survives between Kevin and Conrad. Why didn't he kill Maeve? Why? She's in prison. Have that woman put down. But it's Helen Mirren, and you're probably not doing that. Because her character, I think, is incredibly important. Who's the major character that dies in episode 1 next season? It has to be Kevin. It has to be. You're not going to kill the daughter. Kat loves the daughter. Remember?
Serafina,
thank you. Kat loves Serafina, and maybe not, but set that up for a reason. Harry tells Kat to go F off. Like, somebody's dying early in that season.
Yeah.
There ain't no two-way about it. Wow, and I have Mobland on my list. Dude, you need to watch Mobland. I'm going to rewatch the entire season. It's totally worth it. It is totally worth it. Yeah, it is. It is unbelievable. It is so good. So Guy Ritchie needs to direct every episode.
Yeah.
The guy and I don't even know what you say about Hardy. I don't.
Phenomenal, dude.
I think that I just love the whole thing. I think that the cast,
it's sensational, bro.
Pierce Brosnan is Conrad Harrigan. Really good. Killing the brother with the chainsaw. Really good. I love the whole thing. Where does the cop go now, though? Where's the crooked police guy go now?
What the next move is for him.
Where does he go? There's so much. I could go round and round and round. Round and round and round and round. I am a huge fan of it. Guy Ritchie kills it in the Gentleman series on Netflix. He's just such a good director.
Yeah, he gets it.
He's such a good director. I'm over here rewatching Breaking Bad, bro. You're not rewatching it. You never stop watching it.
Yeah, seriously.
I am the danger. It's so good. It's so good. Have you seen Breaking Bad?
No.
Oh my God. Breaking Bad will change the way you watch TV. I am not even Yeah, Damian Fowler, Monty, Mobland, or Miami Vice. Two different modalities, dude.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Mobland is much more vicious than Miami Vice was.
No, but Miami Vice is an 80s episodic thing. Mobland is, it's just a different thing. It is, because me and your girlfriend were talking about this.
Yeah.
I hate the way they do TV now. I hate it. Release that shit all at once.
Yeah.
Just
you like the Netflix model.
Dump 12 episodes in my lap. Right? Because then I can sit and I can veg on Chicago PD, Miami Vice. I love Miami Vice. I'm a huge Miami Vice fan. I hate that I got to wait a week to watch Mobland. And now you don't, if you haven't seen it, the whole thing's released on Paramount. And it is, I hate the way we have to watch TV now. We are way off the track here, but
it's fine.
I hate the way we have to watch TV now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I will say it's nice to look forward to something on Sunday evening. That's when Mobland comes out on Sundays.
I watched it yesterday morning at like 8:15.
Yeah, see, I can't do it that early in the day, dude. I
was playing golf yesterday. Like, I had stuff to do.
Yeah, I will look forward to watching it with dinner on Sundays, and it's just outstanding. It's a great way to end the weekend.
It is. How do you know that a son has drifted from his father? He goes and watches the Mission Impossible movies with a woman. How was the Mission Impossible film?
It was good. Yeah, it was really good. I thought.
But you never thought about, hey, that's a thing me and my dad usually go together.
Bro, we haven't seen a Mission
movies.
Impossible
Not
movie
the point.
for how long,
it's not the
dude?
point.
It's been a decade,
It's not
bro.
the point. It is. It has been a decade.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm going to see it.
Not the best Mission Impossible movie I've ever seen. Certainly not. I
would agree.
I think it's, you know, I'm the guy. I like Tom Cruise. I think he does a great job. A lot of people want to do the whole 007 versus Mission Impossible. I think they're very different. You know, Daniel Craig has always been my James Bond, and Tom Cruise has always been Ethan Hunt. And I think that, you know, there were a lot of shades in the movie during the flying scenes of Top Gun. You could clearly see the crossover with kind of, you know, same people making a different kind of movie that's kind of up the same alley. But my biggest complaint was just how long it was. It was 3 hours and it was action packed. It was awesome, lived up to it. But my God, I am not a 3-hour movie guy. That is just too long of a movie, dude. Give me 2.5, you know, 2.25. Okay.
But again, it's how things have changed.
But I don't understand why we do 3 hours.
Movies used to be 3 hours. Then they went to 2.5, and now a lot of them are 3 again. Like that Tron movie that's coming out. Dune was almost 4 hours. I mean, it is.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
Dune is, and that's a great point. I think Dune gets away with it because it's deeper and it's much less predictable. Mission Impossible, much like Fast and the Furious, you know what you're getting. You know what kind of movie it is. They do a great job. You know, eventually, yeah, much like this last Daniel Craig Bond movie, you knew he was going to die. You knew Buddy was going to die, and it just is what it is. So,
I still hate that ending. And I would like to say, TaylorMade Golf, if you're going to have a golf ball sale, how are picks not in the sale? Every TaylorMade golf ball is 2 dozen for $45.
Yeah.
Except the picks. Thanks for that. I think it is very interesting that, yeah, we all watch things differently. LOTR, ruined movies.
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, well, there is that.
Yeah, but that's like exceptionally long movie, dude.
A very long movie. Backwoods sexy Mike Smith. Miami Vice influenced many young people. So many kids out there wearing sunny jackets and t-shirts back in the day, dude. Only we know. Guys like Jake and your demographic, you guys will never understand what TV in the 80s was like. When you had to get up and change the channel, when you had to move rabbit ears or 80s TV and the character development in the 80s. We just don't get that anymore because shows don't make it. Overwhelmingly, 9 out of 10 shows don't make it. And when they do make it, it's like The Pit or Mobland. Now you're so anchored to Harry In Mobland, you can't kill off Harry.
No.
Right? But if you go back to ER, you're giving doctors brain cancer and AIDS and because the series has an arc and it lasts more than 2 seasons.
Gave those folks AIDS.
That's right. Thank you. The government.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron. The government gave those doctors AIDS. But the point is, you used to have 5 seasons, 10 seasons. Now you're lucky if we get season 2 of Mobland. Right? Now we're at what my beloved Chicago PD is going into season 13, which is unheard of nowadays. So I just think TV and movies have changed. I watched it that morning as well. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, it's amazing. Gangs of London is a pretty good series. Never seen it. Keaton Critchlow. Keaton, hello. Breaking Bad is legit one of the best shows ever. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Cougar Tracks, Mission Impossible movies are great. Love them.
Yeah.
Jake and I think we watched every Mission Impossible movie until this one together. Because me, you, and Mrs. Monty went to the one before this one.
Yeah.
Right? And then
I'm
we
terrible
used to
about remembering which movies.
When Jake was a kid, we would go and see, when he was like in high school and stuff, we'd go and see all of the Fast and the Furious movies together and all the Mission Impossible movies together. And I think people don't do that anymore. Parents and kids don't do that anymore. Do you guys go to the movies ever? Mrs. Monty and I have talked about this. We love going to the movies together, but we just don't do it anymore because Mobland's on and the pit is on and COVID. I'm a bit of a scaredy cat.
Yeah.
When it comes to I don't want to sit in a packed theater.
I know, but you don't have to sit in a packed theater. Go to a
theaters aren't packed anymore.
but I'm being serious. You can go, like we went to a matinee and that theater was maybe 20% full. Not a person within 2 rows of us.
Which is true.
You know, I mean, you can go during the off time.
I can't remember the last movie I went to the theater and saw. It was recently where we saw the Grubhub guy picking up popcorn and soda for somebody, which was popcorn, a hot dog, and 2 large sodas. You Grubhubbed movie theater popcorn and hot dogs. Like, you're an idiot. I can't remember what movie her and I went and saw, but we went and saw a movie together and the theater was pretty much empty. So
The Accountant too.
The Accountant. Thank you. Great movie, by the way. Really enjoyed it. Not only seasons, but you only get 8 to 12 episodes per season.
Yeah, that to me, that's a great point. You used to get, like, I remember with Game of Thrones at one point, you were getting like 15 to 17 episodes.
Because now they don't want to pay for it. Because it's so expensive, because production companies their cost is skyrocketed. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Bring inseminations back to theaters, showing my age. Wow.
Bro, dude.
Wow.
Chill, bro.
King of the Hill revival, August 4th. Okay. Never been a King of the Hill fan in long form. San Diego State Glenn says LOL. Okay. Boyd Lake, Fast and the Furious, that black Charger was fire.
But you know what I mean? How like Fast and the Furious,
cars in those movies.
You know, Mission Impossible, James Bond, like you know what these movies are. You know, Top Gun, you know what it is. But again, I don't think that's a criticism of Tom or anybody who makes movies like that.
Do we need Top Gun 3?
I don't think we do, but...
And do we ever make anything that's original anymore? That's one of the other things about Mobland that I love. Like, it is original. It is new. It is different. It is Pierce Brosnan. It is Tom Hardy. It is Helen Mirren.
The violent beat your ass show that I didn't know I needed.
And I just think when I look at the thing that separates shows like Mobland, and what drives me crazy is all of the people getting pissed about it. Do you guys understand how good Paddy Considine is in that show? He plays Kevin. Like Laura Pulver is fantastic in that show. Like, everybody is really good. I go to all these dudes like Jordy Mola, who is a the Miami Cop movie with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence.
Bad Boys.
Bad Boys. A legend from Bad Boys. Nobody even recognizes it's him, and he's so good.
Yeah, I didn't recognize that as him when I first saw that.
He is so good.
Yeah.
But you look at like Janet McTeer, who plays Kat McAllister. Fantastic.
Phenomenal.
She was in Ozark and is absolutely fantastic.
See,
like,
Ozark, another great show.
Yes.
We got spoiled on that though, because that was a Netflix special dropping seasons at a time.
Yep. You look at somebody like a Jeff Bell who plays Richie, and it's a great cast, well produced, well directed, really, really good.
Yes. Yes.
And I watched an interview with Anson Boone, who plays the ridiculous Eddie Harrington. And it's so good because he's talking about, well, here's where I want the character to go, but I know I'm not going to get that. And I'm telling you, Mobland, I hope it gets season 2. And by all accounts, that's already done. But Jeff Bell is killer, played a great bad guy in Green Street Hooligans. Yes. Yeah. I take my grandkids to the movies. We're all excited to see live action How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, those movies do really well.
They do. Tom Hardy, dude. I did not like him in Batman. I did not like Bane. I hated that character, but would love to see him in more action settings like this.
So selective.
Well, and he talks about how his body is broken down. He has gotten his ass kicked doing all these. He said Bane really hurt him because he's done all these body transformations, and to bulk up and be Bane and to take the physical pounding that movie required. And again, the dude who played Dark Knight, the Batman in that movie.
Christian
Bale. Maybe I'm 100 years old. Christian Bale and Tom Hardy used to give each other physical therapy because the beating in that Dark Knight movie was so violent. And it was like, it's amazing the stuff that you see. And I think it is amazing the way that these guys go through these body transformations. Christian Bale's another one.
Oh, dude, Christian Bale's body transformations are legendary.
And I just love the character arcs that these guys play. It's what makes Leonardo DiCaprio so incredible, from The Revenant to Wolf of Wall Street. And it's what makes them such fascinating performers.
Yes.
But it takes a toll on their body. And
I think that I think the Mobland role for Tom is a really, really good role for him.
How did she stab him?
That one, I didn't want to bring that up. To me, that came off as a little bit kind of forced. Like I get it. She was upset, and you could see them building to it.
She had lost herself in the conversation. It is Harry and his wife. It's all over now. They can go home, although I don't know how you're going home when Kat McAllister threatens you and your entire family.
Yeah.
But he's like, let's pack our stuff and go home. And she's like, it's not home. I'm tired. And she's just
I can't do this anymore.
Herself in this life that she never wanted to live. And she's cutting tomatoes. She sliced her finger, and he goes over there and is like, what? And she goes to push him away. And she has the knife in her hand. And she stabs him. And it was just an interesting moment. I don't know.
And here is my thing with that, not to ruin it, but you can't be Harry and then your wife just stabs you. Because what had happened in the scene, and this is my problem with it, is she was cutting the food on the cutting board and had cut her thumb, her offhand thumb. And then you could see them building to it. And I was like, dude, what are we doing? This is Harry.
They're having a fight.
Yeah.
But that's a very typical conversation in a volatile marriage. I didn't love that she stabbed him. It didn't feel genuine to the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I understand it because it snapped her back to reality. And what did she say? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I love you. And
well, you stabbed him, and then you realized, oh, just stabbed my protector.
I lost myself. I lost myself. Tom Hardy is the next Bond. You're not the first one who's mentioned that.
He's not. That's not his. He's a little too edgy for that. He's
Bond, too rugged.
Yeah,
he's not refined.
Yeah,
he's not refined.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think he's just not.
That ain't it, bro.
Yeah.
That ain't it.
But who knows? San Diego State Glen Ozark. Now that was an unexpected ending, dude.
Phenomenal show.
Yeah.
Worthy of a rewatch.
Yeah, I agree. Hardy was amazing in Peaky Blinders.
Yes. Another show worthy of a rewatch.
But is Peaky Blinders ever coming back?
Okay, we are official on the golf playoff.
Oh, who made it?
Ricky, Max Homa, Cam Young, Eric Cole, and Chase Johnson
are in the playoff.
Officially. A 5-for-1 playoff incoming for the last spot in the U.S. Open from Columbus.
5-for-1.
Yes.
So only one of those folks is getting in the U.S. Open.
Yes.
I'm pulling for Ricky Fowler. Good Lord. Ah, dadgummit. That scene pisses me off so much. You mean the one in the kitchen? I get that. Brandon Big Pontiff. He's also too old. Bond needs someone who can play Bond for 15 years. I would agree. He's talking about retiring. He is talking about the end of my career is coming. And he's done a bunch of really good interviews. Sergeant Green, good afternoon to you. I'm so far behind on TV shows. The wife and I only had time for about one show an evening after our son goes to bed. And yes, my wife is beautiful. Exactly right. I don't have a lot of time either. You know, the funny thing is, by the time we're done doing this show every day, it's like 7 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
If I go hit some golf balls in my yard, I have by the time I get home, maybe my wife has put something together for dinner. Maybe she hasn't. I'll hit 20, 30 golf balls. We're going to watch an episode of ER and then we're in bed. And by the time I wake up, the next day is over. Like it is. I totally understand that.
The playoff format for men's U.S. Open qualifying is a 2-hole aggregate where the players compete on 2 designated holes. After that, it is then sudden death until you have a winner.
So say that again.
So in men's U.S. Open qualifying, it is a 2-hole aggregate. So all the guys are going to play 2 holes.
Mm-hmm.
And then if there is not an individual winner after those 2 holes, which in this case, I doubt there will be, they will then go to a sudden death format until one winner is crowned.
So my guess is you're probably going to see 3 holes.
I would guess so. Yes.
Because what'll happen, the first 2 holes will knock somebody out.
Yes.
And so you'll probably be down to
2 to 3 guys, I would think.
I would think 3.
Yeah.
And I would guess we'll see if there's an individual winner after. I mean, it could be 2. It's highly unlikely. There's too many good players in that group.
Yeah.
I have a feeling Eric Cole's going to win, but we'll see. Roche, good afternoon. Oh, you're disgusting. Dude. How are you a Paris Saint-Germain fan?
Don't give him more fame. Next comment.
That's disgusting.
Hell out of here with that.
Midweek Coug. How many holes for the playoff? Well, 2, and then however many they need. Tom Holland is the young Brit for a long Bond run.
Agreed.
PAC Chat Network. Why consistently lie about a merger? Well, who's consistently lying about a merger?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
There's no upside for the PAC 8 for a merger. Okay. I hate when Jake refers to himself in the 3rd hole. Well,
yeah, it's something that I'm working on, dude. But honestly, it's been tough.
Yeah.
It's been really, really difficult.
Steve Levinson, the newest member of the Monty.
I'm coming. We coming.
Steve, I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think, and maybe that's what we should do here. 20 minutes to 5 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Central, or 6 o'clock Mountain. I think it's very interesting what's going on in the world of college football right now. The Pac-12 Mountain West update, very simply, is that the 5 exiting members of the Mountain West have officially put it in writing and sent in their deposits to exit the Mountain West, which the reason that that's so significant is it gives the Mountain West now the opportunity to meet and actually have constructive conversations about the future. because those 5 exiting members are now off the board of directors at the Mountain West. So if you're negotiating a TV deal or a media rights deal, you can actually have that conversation out in the open now amongst your membership, whereas before you weren't going to divulge, what's going to be proprietary secrets about negotiations to members who are leaving your conference going to your direct competitor. So it frees the Mountain West up to get to work on the future. And for the Pac-12, it's just another step in the process. And you would think that once this litigation is done, they would hopefully quickly move to a grant of rights and a media rights deal, because you can't make a media rights deal without a full signed grant of rights from all of your members. And they haven't signed a grant of rights at this point with the Pac-12. Remember, that is for 2026 and beyond. The 2025 media rights deal is done for the Pac-12. So these are important milestones, this one particularly for the Mountain West, but it does allow the Pac-12 to continue to move forward. And again, I will just consistently tell you, I think it's incredibly important that this process gets done quickly on both sides, because you cannot continue to spend money on lawyers, especially if you're the Pac-12. You're in mediation. You at this point know that you are going to cut a check, and probably multiple checks, A, from your exiting members for exit fees, B, for poaching fees, because if you were not going to do that, this would not probably have gone to mediation. You go to mediation to end it quickly and expeditiously. We were told today and yesterday by multiple sources that there is no finality in mediation. Good progress and good conversations continue to happen. And that they have taken an agreement not to divulge details and not to really talk about the mediation process, which is why it's been pretty quiet. So I would expect that deal to get done. I think you're foolish if you're trying to put a timeline on it. And again, as we sit here, I will tell you, in one form or fashion, they should have merged, because you look at the peril that both of these leagues will operate in for the next several years. They are going to be very tight financially. And I think when you start looking at things like the House settlement, profit sharing, roster limits, athlete compensation, NIL, it's going to be very difficult for these leagues to operate anywhere near certainly a G5, but I think it's going to be very difficult for the top teams in both of these leagues to operate with other larger Memphises of the world, who granted have their own financial challenges in the AAC. But it's going to be difficult when you're spending tens of millions of dollars on lawyers if you're the Pac-12. And now you have significant financial commitments to these new members, including Boise State and Gonzaga, who both, by some reporting, and we'll see when we put pen to paper on this, because we haven't seen revenue distribution. We haven't seen any of those details, but you have financial commitments and you are sending money out. Money is not coming in. So those are all kind of equations the Pac-12 is dealing with. And I think it lightens the load a little bit more for the Mountain West, because you're getting, what is it again, $15 million each for an exit fee. And depending on how those negotiations go, I'm sure that's on the table. So you're probably, let's call it $60 million in exit fees. You would be at 75. You're probably, let's call it $60 million. That's about the same amount of money that you owe UNLV. So now those poaching fees come in. Like you just have this, need to get finality so you understand your finances so you can move forward. But I think they're facing an uphill battle in both to get any kind of meaningful money out of their media rights deal. And I think your $8 million per school per year would be
best case,
out of this universe. Fantastic. I think you would take that. Now, what is the term of that media rights deal? TV people are that we talk to have said it could be 2 years. I don't think you are wise to sign anything, certainly nothing longer than 5.
Yeah. Too much change coming down the pipe.
I would tell you 3 years worth of a grant of rights, because the TV networks aren't going to care about that. I've asked every TV source we have, hey, is there a minimum? Most TV people tell me it's 2 years. I would think if you could get a 3-year grant of rights going forward, if you were or a 3-year deal that on a grant of right to sell to a network for 3 years, I would assume you would do that.
Absolutely.
Give yourself stability. If you're an 8-team league and you're looking at $60 million a year, I would think you would take that. You're a G5.
How do you not?
But the problem is these two are going to be running into each other now for late windows. How much money does ESPN have for their direct-to-consumer platform? Because I think that's going to be a big part of both of these deals. How much are you willing to, if you're in the Pac-12? How much are you willing to stream? How much are you willing to put on linear? Do you really want to stay in business with the CW? I just think you have all of these questions. And then you're the Mountain West. You have the thing they have going in their favor in media rights is they have a great relationship with all their broadcast partners. And I think it's a much easier road to hoe. I think the Pac-12 is a little on the uphill when it comes to a media rights deal because you have a certain amount of money. And again, there's just so much more in the Pac-12. Like, who's going to pay to produce the game?
There's just a million more questions.
That's really what it comes down to. So it's all what you're willing to swallow. How much money do you need to survive and thrive? I don't know that either one of these leagues will thrive.
And how much support can the Pac-12 get financially? I mean, obviously goes without saying that, for decades, the Pac-12, was in the Silicon Valley backyard and had donors and support and, people who were all about it. So, can they revitalize that? Can they, tap into that a little bit? I don't know. But I'm just saying, when you talk about, the health moving forward, that's definitely going to be something they need to figure out.
Yeah, and I think the hard part is that you don't have brand or market share because again, I look at San Diego State. It should be a great TV market. It is not. It does not move the needle. And I've told you this 1,000 times, and I think most people have run with it. Las Vegas is a more valuable TV market than San Diego. And listen, UNLV was the saving grace in the Mountain West and a really, really tough no-go for the Pac-12. Because I think we heard in the last 2 weeks in the SEC and the Big 12, they really value the Las Vegas market. I mean, it is truly sports and entertainment. There's money there.
Yes.
That is not casino money, but there's money there that can really make a difference for a conference at this level. Again, these are not power conferences. Neither one of these conferences is significantly better off than the other. They both have really strong brands on one side or the other. From a football perspective, Boise's the best football brand in either league. Other than that, I think you truly are playing with a bunch of brands that are not exponentially better than each other. So I think that when you look at basketball, the Mountain West has been a fantastic basketball league. Adding GCU really helps them, in my opinion. But does Hawaii bring you something basketball? I don't know. We'll find out.
We will find out.
Because I think one of the things that we've heard a lot now is bar raising from commissioners and presidents. And we've all got to win every single play. Not every game, every play. That's how important the money is in these things now. So we'll see. Again, I'll tell you guys, I don't have a dog in the fight. And my opinion is that neither one of these leagues is significantly better off than the other.
Which is why they should merge.
They each have challenges. And I think the hardest part when we talk about merging is like the Pac-12 pissed off fan wants to say, well, we're not taking San Jose State. I'm not telling you to take San Jose State. I'm not. Would you want to be in business with UNLV? Would you want to be in business with, think about what not every school is going to make it in a merger. We're at the point now where everybody's got to be included is off the table. That's
without question.
We're just in a position where that's not realistic anymore because of the destruction that has happened, largely centered around the Pac-12 over the last 3 years. I don't think that that's part of the conversation. And I think this idea that the Mountain West is a trash heap, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
You're out. They have better TV markets than you do.
Yep.
And frankly, I think the hardest part for Pac-12 fans to digest is they have better management than you do at the university level and at the conference level. And again, as one of the Pac-12 hyenas said earlier, my idol, Gloria, somebody go ask Gloria Navarez. But my guess is if I said, hey, you guys have to merge and you have to step aside, Gloria, I don't think she would even hesitate.
Right.
Because what's best for her constituents is what she's going to do. That's your job as a commissioner.
Which is what the answer should be.
Because I think together they're worth $10 million per school per year. Separately, I am not convinced that either one of them is. I think $8 million would be. You would just be
over the moon, bro. Yes.
For it.
Yes.
Over the moon for it. Pac-12, Pac Chat Network. That's like telling the Big 12 and the American to merge. No, because the Pac-12 is nowhere near, not even close, not on the same level as a P4.
No.
You're not even. Pac-12 fans, you've got to grasp the fact you're not a fucking power conference.
Nope.
You're not. And you're never going to be. Those days are over. You've got to be the best. You have got to be the best G5 league, period. And you are not. You are not at this moment. You've still got to go find membership. You've still got to get a media rights deal. Like we can sit here and we can play the what if thing, but as Dr. Ed Scott is famous for saying on this show, I don't live in a what if scenario.
Nope. And how can you?
What have I got right now? What do I have right now that I can sell? And right now, what you've got may buy you Texas State.
Yes.
But is Texas State better, worse than UTEP? I think a real big loss in this whole conversation is New Mexico. Not getting New Mexico. I think there's a fight there for that.
Yeah, if you think, if you're a Pac-12 fan and you think you're a power conference, I can't help you. Nothing suggests that, no matter who you are.
It is wild to me that Pac-12 fan can't put their hands around the fact that you didn't strengthen the G5, you diluted it and therefore weakened it. You created another G5 that doesn't have a behemoth. There's no, you guys can continue to say what you want publicly here.
Yeah.
But let's get something straight. There is no powerful G5 league. You're all, why do you think Memphis was ever even having a conversation with the Pac-12?
Yeah, what you should be shifting to is being the best G5 and preparing yourself to thrive once power conference football changes happen. That's what you should be saying.
I will just continue to tell you, Las Vegas is so hugely important in this conversation. And Pac-12 fan that continues to think that you're getting UNLV, they signed a grant of rights going forward with the Mountain West. That is not a school that is financially stable in athletics. They're not going to pay to break a grant of rights. They're not going to pay to fight with lawyers. Like, it's the whole reason they didn't leave now. And I'll go back to what Memphis athletic director Ed Scott, who was on this show and said, I don't want to travel. My soccer team. That's what we're talking about. You're not offering him exponentially more money to join the Pac-12. You're not offering him exponentially more opportunity if he joins the Pac-12. Because you don't have that to offer, because you don't have a TV deal, you don't have membership. Like, I get it. I get it. You want it to be great, and it's not. Is that guy Genetics on here now? I couldn't tell you. Roche, are PAC admin worried about losing their jobs if they merge? I have no idea.
Who the hell knows? Yeah,
it is not common sense to believe that you are better off with 6 conferences at the G5 level. That is just asinine. It does not math. And again, take the very best of your 2 conferences, put them together, and if you got to kick both of them to the curb, Gloria and Teresa, okay, great. Go find the best sports administrative mind that's available to you and hire that person and pay them the requisite money, and then go build the best G5 conference with an unbeatable platform under the Pac-12 logo. That's how you win this thing. Other than that, there are no winners here.
Yeah.
There are no winners here. Las Vegas, Larry, who is a member of the show. Are you? Oh, yes, you are. Las Vegas, Larry.
Okay, well, let me come over here. Okay. Nice.
Las Vegas, Larry. Oh, Ricky Fowler with a bogey. Oh, Ricky's going to be out.
How do you know it's a bogey? Does it say? I don't know if it's a bogey.
Well, that's a 5. Boy, these guys are putting with their
Well, this is hole
sphincters.
number 1.
Sphincters tight. Well, but yeah, if you go in here with a bogey, so we're talking about the U.S. Open qualifier in Columbus. Cam Young is putting for birdie. Ricky Fowler just putted for 5. Eric Cole missed his putt, and Max Homa missed his putt. Cam Young could put himself in the driver's seat on the first playoff hole. They are in a 5-for-1 playoff. 5 dudes for 1 spot. Cam Young drains the birdie putt. Cam Young drains the birdie putt. So he is in the driver's seat after 1 hole. And look at that. Ricky Fowler gives him a fist bump, which is great, which is really good. They're congratulating him.
I think this is the second hole.
No, this is the first playoff hole. Or at least that's what the graphic on the screen
no, this
says.
is the first one. Okay.
So Max Homa now putting for par. He missed his birdie putt, and he drilled it. So now let's see who's out. Somebody's out because they're shaking hands.
Yeah, so it looks like Ricky's out because he had the bogey. So
they're trimming after this first hole.
Hole, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll keep you up to date on it. It is. Yeah, that sucks. Ricky Fowler's my dude. I love that guy. But he's not the same player. No, that's it. It's over. Cam Young advanced.
Oh, because he birdied it.
No, I'm sorry. They corrected the graphic. Literally, the graphic just changed on the screen, you guys. It said advances to U.S. Open. It blinked, and then it said in playoff. So advances. So did he advance? Is he in?
I don't know.
I think that means that Cameron Young won the playoff. I think he won the playoff because he has a birdie. So I think he won the playoff. Anyway, I think he won the playoff.
Trying to get clarity.
So good for Cameron Young. Wow, can you believe that? In a 5-man playoff. That's crazy. All right, couple more comments real quick. Tiger Jab, 2024 AAC payout, Memphis 11, Tulane 10.8, South Florida 10.3. It would take more than that to move all sports. That's what I'm saying. And Pac-12 fan has argued with me that Memphis is getting $4 million. They're not getting $4 million. Memphis's biggest need is for that conference to become significantly better in basketball, to help them get better seeding. That's what they need. So I appreciate that. Gloria has a law degree. Teresa has a master's in education. I don't even think it's where their degrees are from. You know what the biggest issue is? Teresa Gould has been at the Pac-12 forever. Used to be co-workers at the Pac-12 with Gloria. Gloria went on to the WCC. Gloria went on to the Mountain West. Doing very well. And then you get Teresa Gould, who isn't able to execute a path forward. She was there under Larry Scott. She was there under George Kliavkoff. Now you get to the Mountain West, and it seems like a no-brainer. Build that bridge. And now we're in court, paying more legal fees. And you go on stage at Front Office Sports and say, hey, we need a transformative partnership. And not somebody to just cut us a check and put us on their network. And then you did a TV deal where they cut you a check and put you on their network, and you're paying all the production fees. That's the problem. Memphis would rather hold out for an ACC invite, probably. I think the travel is just too arduous.
Way too
arduous. At least from what Ed Scott told us. That's one of the huge things. Tigers up 3-0 already against the White Sox. That's not a badge of honor. The White Sox are terrible. Graphics department guy is going to F around and get fired. Seriously. All right. We didn't get to 99.9% of what we wanted to talk about today, but it is what it is. More on the Pac-12 and Mountain West tomorrow. Appreciate the conversation. And you guys, again, for Pac-12 fans that are here today, I'm just going to tell you, I'm all ears, and I love the conversation. If you're going to come in and lob insults, we're not going to talk about it. I'm happy to have legitimate, hey, why are you saying this? I'm happy to back up everything I've said because we've talked to everybody involved.
Yeah.
We have relationships across television and across college football. I'm happy to have the conversation. It's as simple as that. The Monty Show, as always, presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business, available 24/7, 365, and it won't cost you a dime to chat with an injury attorney live online at theadvocates.com. No, it's not a chatbot. It's a live attorney right now at theadvocates.com. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.